sounds of those attending the meeting. We'll now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. It'll be led by Mr. Guerrero. There's a flag in the center of the screen.
Ready? Salute. I pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of
the United States
of America
to the republic,
and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Guerrero. I have several actions that I need to report that were taken in closed session. So if you will bear with me. In closed session, OAH case number 202002111, dated April 28th, 2020. The board took the following action in closed session. On a motion by Mr. Fulmer, a second by Dr. Vasquez, the board voted unanimously in favor of accepting that item. Secondly, in closed session, OAH case number 20200211024, also dated April 28th, the board took the following action in closed session. On a motion by Dr. Vasquez, a second by board member Fulmer, the board voted unanimously to approve OAH case number 20200211024. Also, to report in a closed session on a motion by Mr. Guerrero, a second by Dr. Vasquez, the board voted unanimously to appoint Kimberly Hale to the position of principal of Elbow Creek Elementary School. Kimberly has been employed with Visalia Unified School for 16 years. During her employment with VUSD, she has served as both an elementary school assistant principal and principal. Most recently, Ms. Hale served as a principal supervisor. Prior to her employment with VUSD, Ms. Hale was employed by Hanford Elementary School District, where she served as a learning director. Ms. Hale earned a Master's of Arts degree in Reading Language Arts from California State University, Fresno, and a Bachelor of Arts degree in elementary education from Whitworth College. She also holds a multiple teaching credential and a clear administrative services credential. Join us in congratulating Ms. Hale on her appointment as principal. And I believe that's all my readout. Revisions to tonight's agenda are enclosure number 7, number 8, number 9, number 26, and number 30. General public comment on any school-related topic may be heard at this time. Comments will be heard through our telephone call-in system. The call-in number is 559-931-8500. We will take calls in the order they are received. Pursuant to board policy, the board may limit individual comments to no more than 3 minutes and individual topics to 20 minutes. Please begin your comments by stating your first and last name. Do we have any calls at this time?
Yes, you do. Just a moment.
And what I'd like to also say is while the board listens to comments, board members and staff do not answer questions during public comment. If you have a specific question that you would like answered, please call the VUSD call center between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. The number is 559-730-7300. For tonight's general public comment, the call number again is 559-931-8500. The board has asked that any public comment on an item listed on tonight's agenda be addressed at the time the item comes up for discussion by the board. Okay, we'll take that call.
Okay, caller.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Mel Carrillo, and I'm the choral director at Redwood High School. Tonight, I am representing the Visalia Unified Performing Arts and expressing our concerns about planned program cuts to district middle school drama and choir programs. The USD has always supported the arts, even in the worst of financial times. Because drama and choral programs are state and federally mandated core curriculum, we would like to raise our concerns that cuts in these programs are against best educational practices. These cuts will limit opportunities for students and create equity gaps between schools across our district. Many of our students who rely on these programs for their socio-emotional well-being will be denied access. In addition, training the middle school male and female voices are unique processes that require vastly different teaching methods. It is important that all beginning choir students have the opportunity to be trained properly in separate groups to facilitate continued progression in our district choral programs. It is our understanding that this decision was an effort to save money by reducing the number of FTEs at the middle school level. However, since these employees are remaining full-time in the district and simply being reassigned to the elementary music team, how does shuffling them help save money in the budget? Specific VABA classes can support and even benefit from large numbers of students, reducing overall staff required. We appreciate the opportunity to share our concerns with you in detail before any final decisions are made. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Are there other comments?
Yes, there are. Just one moment, please. Hi, thank you for calling the board meeting. Please go ahead and proceed by announcing your name. Go ahead, caller.
Hi, my name is Stacy Galvan. I am a teacher at Redwood High School. Give me a second, let me turn thank you. I am the theater director and drama teacher at Redwood High School. I have taught at Redwood for 22 years, and I am also representing the Visalia Unified Performing Arts in expressing our concerns about the district cuts to the middle school drama and choir programs. VUSD has always been a huge supporter of the arts, even in the worst financial times. And before I really start, I would like to say how much I really enjoyed President Crabtree's granddaughter's performance in Green Acres Little Theater production of The Little Mermaid back in February. She was absolutely amazing. It's been brought to our attention that Valley Oak Middle School, all the drama classes have been cut for next year. And at Green Acres Middle School, they have had their program cut to only one class. As you all know, Green Acres has been producing amazing musical theater productions for the last 40 years. The Visadero had their theater classes cut about 5 years ago, and it has directly impacted how Mount Whitney's program has proceeded to develop. I would like to raise our concerns that these cuts are not only against best educational practices, but it's also limiting opportunities for our students. It's a lack of equity at the schools. All students should have the same access to educational opportunities. These cuts also negatively affect the socio-emotional well-being of our students. We know that combining 7th and 8th grade drama classes is like combining Math 1 and 2 in the same class. Those two courses build on each other and should not be taught together. We have learned that school sites are not actively supporting the middle school programs, which has resulted in lower numbers for those courses and in turn will negatively affect the high school programs. If this is being done to save money, we would like to know how shuffling teaching assignments help. The visual and performing arts classes, as the last caller said, can take large numbers in our specific classes and can help average out the class sizes at each school. We understand that this is a tough economic time for our school district. We look forward to hearing back from the board and the district about these issues before the next meeting so we can best serve the needs of all of our students in VUSD. Thank you so much for your time. We look forward to bringing live theater back when the schools open back up. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Do we have other comments?
Yes, there is. Just a moment. Hello, caller. Go ahead and start by announcing your name. One moment. Go ahead, caller.
Hi, my name is Brittany Christensen, and I am the parent of 2 VUSD students. I sent an email to the board and Dr. Reveline yesterday requesting a special parent input meeting for the district's future distance learning plans. I'm very grateful to Dr. Reveline for her response, and I hope the rest of you received my email as well. Dr. Raveline offered the option of the district conducting a survey to obtain parent input for distance learning. While I feel that this is a good start, I truly believe a meeting between parents and our district leadership and board members is the best course of action to ensure effective communication between both groups, and that our ideas and expectations for our children's education are thoroughly addressed. I and many other VUSD parents I have spoken with feel this issue is urgent. We have spoken to parents in our community whose children attend schools in other local districts and have discovered that we are far behind where they are at with their distance learning. They are doing a lot more and have much more of a plan in place than we currently do. That makes us feel extremely nervous. I would like to repeat my request that the board and Dr. Raveline schedule a meeting for parents in the district to discuss ideas for what future distance learning could look like, as well as develop a timeline for these measures to be rolled out. There simply is too much to say than can be expressed in a survey. I recognize this is public comment and you can't say anything to me, but I'd love if this item could be agendized for a future meeting for follow-up. I hope the board will give serious consideration to my request. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, and also thank you for your email. We did receive it, and we also saw the response from Dr. Raveline. So thank you again. Do we have other comments?
Thank you very much.
There are no other calls at this time.
All right, thank you very much. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Does any board member wish to pull any items? Do I have a motion to accept the agenda? I have a motion by Mrs. Naylor, a second by Dr. Vasquez, all in, well, your vote, Ms. Gamoyan
Yes.
and Mrs. Naylor
Yes.
and Mr. Guerrero,
Yes.
Mr. Fulmer, Mr. Foster is a yes, and Dr. Vasquez is
Yes.
a yes. All right, it's unanimous. Thank you. All right.
Mr. President, sorry, we have the student representative that needs to vote.
Oh, yeah. She's way up in the corner. I didn't see her hiding there.
All good. I vote yes.
And she votes yes as well. Thank you. All right, moving on to public recognition, proclamations and actions. Resolution, School Nurse Day, May 26, 2020, enclosure number 20. Mr. Guerrero.
Whereas school nurses play a significant role in improving student health and outcomes, and whereas children come to school with a variety of health conditions varying from moderate issues to multiple severe chronic health issues, illnesses that have profound and direct impact on their ability to learn, and whereas today's school nurse has an expanded role of disease prevention, promoting wellness, and providing access to healthcare for all our students to stay healthy, safe, and ready to learn. Therefore, the Visalia Unified School District proclaims May 6, 2020 as School Nurse Day and recognizes the positive impact that our school nurses have on student health and well-being every day.
Do I have a motion to accept the
So moved.
resolution? I have a motion by Dr. Vasquez, second by Ms. Gamoyan. My vote is yes. Student reps vote. My vote is yes. Ms. Gamoyan, Mrs. Naylor, Mr. Guerrero,
Yes.
Mr. Fulmer, Mr. Foster, and Dr. Vasquez.
Yes.
That is a unanimous vote as well. Moving on to enclosure number 21, resolution, California Day of the Teacher. Mr. Guerrero.
Whereas America's greatest strength has always been an educated citizenry, and whereas that educated citizenry is directly attributable to our system of free and universal public education that provides an educational opportunity for all students, and whereas the foundation upon which the system of public schools rests in the classroom teacher, and whereas the classroom teacher is challenged daily to reach out to every student regardless of ability, interest, learning, social, or economic background, special need, race, religion, creed, or ethnic origin, to provide the assistance and guidance necessary for a successful adult life. And whereas the classroom teacher is the key to the intellectual and occupational preparation of individual citizens who collectively determine the quality of life in America, California, and in the community. And whereas the work of the classroom teacher immeasurably affects the future lives of all students, and whereas the classroom teacher deserves the deepest respect and admiration of the citizens of this community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that May 13th, 2020 is proclaimed California Day of the Teacher in the Visalia Unified School District for the purpose of providing public recognition and appreciation for the dedication and contributions of the classroom teacher, and not only to the community as a whole, but to each of us as individual citizens.
So moved.
I have a
Second.
motion by Dr. Vasquez, second by Mr. Foster. Your vote?
I think that was Joy that was first, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. Was that you? I
Yes.
apologize. So I have a motion first by Mrs. Naylor, a second by Dr. Vasquez, and I'll ask for Mrs. Travis's vote first. And mine is also approved. Ms. Gamoyen,
Yes.
approved. Mrs. Naylor,
Yes.
Mr. Guerrero,
Yes.
Mr. Fulmer, thumbs up.
I saw his wave.
Mr. Foster and Dr. Vasquez.
Yes.
It is unanimous. Moving on to number 22, resolution, Classified School Employees Week. Mr. Guerrero.
Whereas California legislature recognizes the important contribution of the classified school employees and named the third full week of May Classified School Employee Week to honor these contributions. Whereas many classified employees serve in paraprofessional capacities, providing direct assistance to certificated faculty in the classroom and giving students the type of individual attention and support they need to succeed academically. And whereas other classified employees perform vital secretarial, clerical, and health support functions without which local school sites simply could not operate. And whereas still other classified employees are involved with cafeteria and other nutrition-related programs serving California students with millions of meals and snacks each year. And whereas yet another group of classified employees provide school transportation services, skillfully moving more than 1 million students each day from home to school and school-related activities. And whereas many classified employees perform custodial and maintenance services, ensuring that thousands of school buildings and grounds statewide are clean, safe, and well-maintained. And whereas by supporting the learning environment, classified school employees are crucial partners with teachers, parents, administrators, and school boards in public schools. Now therefore it be resolved, the Visalia Unified School Board of Education proclaims the week of May 17th to the 23rd, 2020 as Classified School Employee Week in recognition of the many outstanding contributions and services provided by this district's classified employees.
So moved.
I have a motion by Dr. Vasquez, second by Mr. Foster. How does Ms. Travis vote? In favor. John Crabtree votes in favor. Ms. Gamoyen,
Yes.
Mrs. Naylor,
Yes.
Mr. Guerrero,
Yes.
Mr. Fulmer is a yes. Mr. Foster and Dr. Vasquez. It is unanimous. Enclosure number 23, resolution, Asian American and Pacific Islanders Heritage Month, May 2020. Mr. Guerrero.
Whereas May is designated as Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and whereas the state of California is home to 748,763 students of Asian and Pacific Islander descent, kindergarten through grade 12, and whereas these students reflect the great diversity of culture and heritage of the many countries of Asia and the Pacific Islands, and whereas despite the hardships and barriers of the past, the people of Asia and the Pacific Islands who came to this country and their descendants have made substantial contributions to California's economic growth and development and have woven clear, distinct threads into the state's social fabric And whereas Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month is celebrated annually at the local, state, and national levels, now therefore it be resolved by the Visalia Unified School District that the month of May 2020 be designated as Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month and encourages all education opportunities to commemorate this occasion with appropriate instructional activities.
So moved.
I have a motion by Dr. Vasquez, a second by Mr. Foster. How does Ms. Travis vote? John Crabtree votes also in favor. Ms. Gamoyen,
Yes.
Mrs. Naylor,
Yes.
Mr. Guerrero,
Yes.
Mr. Fulmer is a thumbs up. A yes. Mr. Foster is a yes. And Dr. Vasquez
Yes.
is a yes. It is unanimous. All right, moving on to public comment, public interest announcements, status reports and actions. We will open a public hearing. Initial contract negotiation proposals of the California School Employees Association. Chapter 83 to VUSDA for 2020 and 2021. This is the second read. Melissa Hurley, are you with us? Turn on your mic. Thank you.
I'm here. I'm sorry.
Okay, we all do it.
We're moving really fast tonight. I apologize, guys. I had my stuff. I just wasn't quite ready. All right, so, yep. Good evening, Board President Crabtree, members of the board, and Dr. Raveline. I am Melissa Halsey, Chief Negotiator for CSEA Chapter 83. This evening, I'll be presenting the second reading Sunshine on behalf of CSEA Chapter 83. Our members serve this district in many different capacities. It's the members of CSEA Chapter 83 who provide playground and campus supervision. Our members transport our students to and from school and keep the buses and our fleet of vehicles in good working condition. The facilities that our students receive their education in are maintained by skilled maintenance members and tech services. The grounds and overall cleanliness and safety of our students are maintained by members of CSEA. Students are provided healthy meals during the school day during this crisis because of CSEA members.
Ms. Halsey, excuse me.
Yes,
Could
sir.
you maybe work in a little bit closer to your mic because you're starting to break up?
Yep, that a little bit better.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Parents and community members are greeted daily by our members working on campuses, and the day-to-day operations that keep our district business affairs, human resources department, and student services running smoothly are supported by CSEA. The 1,647 members of CSEA Chapter 83 help keep our schools running so that we do not have to close our schools. We are not facing a worldwide pandemic. Normally, our membership would be with me standing before you in our boardroom, but due to COVID-19 and the inability for the public or VUSD employees to physically attend the board meeting in person, I will once again share some of our CSEA members who are missing the work that they love doing with our students. California School Employees Association and its Chapter 83 members would seek to bargain Article 9, hours and overtime, Article 9.4, lunch periods, Article 9.7, compensatory time, Article 9.12, overtime and equal distribution, Article 9.19, summer schedule. All other language of the article shall remain status quo. Article 10, health and welfare and benefits. The district shall provide for the full increased cost of current health and welfare benefits for all eligible employees and their dependents. Article 10.1, school district plan for CISC. Article 10.2, eligible full-time bargaining unit members. And Article 10.9, property damage. All other language of the article shall remain status quo. Article 13, salary. CSEA seeks a fair and equitable salary increase of 1.9% plus the funded COLA. If the state funds the COLA at 2%, then CSEA is proposing that CSEA represented classified employees receive a 3.9% increase. All other articles or language not specifically listed will remain status quo. And then our mutual interest opener, the district and CSEA Chapter 83 have mutually agreed to open and negotiate the language of any article impacted by AB 1353, classified employees probationary period.
Is there any public comment?
No calls at this time. There are no calls at this time.
Okay, very good. Then we'll move on to number 25. I guess I'll close the hearing for the CSEA and open the hearing for VUSD on VUSD's interest for 2020-2021 classified negotiations. Kristen Corliss.
Good evening, Board
President-
President Crabtree.
Excuse me. I'm sorry, this is Delia Smart.
Yes.
That was an action item, so the board needs to acknowledge receipt of CSEA's initial contract proposal.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was after her. Okay, do I have a motion to?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Guerrero, a second by Dr. Vasquez. If you'll just give me a signal on your vote. Ms. Travis, John Crabtree, Mrs. Naylor is a yes. Mr. Guerrero is a yes. Mr. Fulmer a yes. Mr. Foster is a yes. And Ms. Vasquez is a yes. So it's unanimous. All right, we'll now move on to a public hearing for VUSD interest for the CSEA year 2021 negotiations. Kristen Corliss.
Good evening, Board President Crabtree, Superintendent Raveline, and Board. My name is Kristen Corliss, and I'm very honored to serve as the Director in the Human Resource Department for Visalia Unified School District. The district presented our initial interest at the April 14th, 2020 board meeting. At this point, I will be having a public hearing for the second reading of our proposal for classified negotiations for the 2020-2021 school year. Multiple district interests that I reviewed at the previous meeting include providing a high education, supporting our employees, ensuring that our extra and co-curricular activities and opportunities for students are provided, and engaging in an open and honest exchange of information through collaboration with CSEA Chapter 83. With that said, the district's initial proposal is as follows. We would like to open Article 10, employee benefits. We would also like to open Article 13, salary. And as Melissa stated earlier, we do have a mutual interest opener this year, and the district and CSEA Chapter 83 have mutually agreed to open and negotiate the language of any article impacted by AB 1353 related to classified employees and their probationary period. That is our proposal at this time, and we would like, this is an action item tonight, so I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Is there any public comment?
No calls at this time.
Board member comments?
So moved.
I have a motion by Dr. Vasquez, second by Ms. Naylor. How does Ms. Travis vote? John Crabtree. Ms. Travis votes in favor. John Crabtree's in favor. Give me a signal. Ms. Gamoyan is in favor. Mrs. Naylor is in favor. Mr. Guerrero is in favor. Mr. Fulmer is in favor. Mr. Foster is in favor. And Dr. Vasquez is a favor. Thank you all. It has been accepted, and we close this public hearing.
Thank you all. Have a great evening.
Moving on to Educator Support Services Report, enclosure number 26, Shelley Groom. I saw her here earlier. There she is.
Here I am. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, you might want to turn it up a little louder, get a little closer.
Turn my volume up now. How's that?
A little better.
A little bit better? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
All righty. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to share. Let me get my PowerPoint shared here. Is it on there? Okay. Play from start, right? Slideshow. Play from start. There you go.
Looks good.
Evening. Can you hear me okay?
You bet.
All righty. Good evening, Board President Crabtree, Dr. Rabeline, and board members. Thank you so much for the opportunity to let me share a little bit tonight. It's kind of our spring share out that we've done the last couple of years, and I'm honored to be here and take this opportunity to share what we're doing and with our new teachers and how we're supporting them. So this is just kind of our little annual update. Our team is made up of, we have 4 teachers on assignment. I am the director in human resources, and our team is housed in human resources development. In our collaboration with supporting teachers, we work with the curriculum department. We also have regular collaboration with local universities in terms of having those teachers transition from a preliminary credential into our induction clear credential program. And probably the core of our system are the mentors who are at various sites. There's about 175 mentors that we train and meet with regularly, and they really are the core of the support that we provide for the teachers here at Visalia Unified. Some of our roles, probably where our little department came from 11 years ago, we started an induction program here at Visalia Unified, which was an opportunity for teachers who hold a preliminary credential to be able to clear their credential. And at that time, we had about 80 candidates who were in the induction program. Back in the day, that was called BITSA. And it's quite a process to have this program. It's accredited by the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing. There's a lot of stipulations and reports and programs that need to be written to. But at that time, back in 2008, we definitely thought it was the right thing to do, as large of a district as we are, to provide this support to our teachers free of charge so that they can clear that credential. And it's wonderful that we have a school district that is willing to continue to provide that support. As the induction program grew, so did, and as things shifted in the world of teaching, and the teacher shortage became more of a challenge back in about 2015, we started seeing more and more STIPs, PIPs, and interns. Those are those folks on emergency credentials. And so we expanded. We added some teachers on assignment to help manage the support that we provide. All of the new teachers do receive a mentor. So this mentoring support that began with the induction program began to overflow to those folks who are on intern credentials and those that are on emergency credentials. And we continue to kind of expand on that support as those numbers grew and shifted. And we'll look at numbers here in just a minute. And I wanted to be clear too, in terms of the mentor, the principal at each site really is the one who determines who the best match is for that new teacher. And we coordinate with them very closely as we get the lists. Being housed in HR, we get the hire lists. We let principals know, okay, we see this is who you have coming in, who would be a best match for a mentor for these teachers coming in. And the principals are great at making those mentor matches. down to personality sometimes. We definitely want to try to get them with the same subject area and that kind of thing. Sometimes we have quite a bunch of new teachers in one little chunk at a site, and we have retirees that come back and help serve as mentors in situations like that. So the principals are just a great partner in all of this. Some of the other roles that we play, we facilitate the professional development alongside the curriculum department and social emotional learning. I know we have some equity training that we'll be doing. So we collaborate with all of those here at the district. Our focus is a little more on the classroom management piece, particularly New Teacher Institute that happens in the summer right before school starts. It will be a surprise this year what that's going to look like. We are coming up with sort of a plan A, plan B, plan C for New Teacher Summer Institute. And I'm working closely with Sarah Seymour on that and the special ed department, as well as social emotional learning on what that is going to look like this upcoming fall. We provide winter training as well, and this is when we go a little deeper with the classroom management. That might sound counterintuitive. You might think, well, aren't they getting classroom management during New Teacher Week? They are. They receive a book that we kind of teach from throughout the year that provides them with some basics. And then that winter training becomes a little bit more creative in terms of classroom management. And that's when we bring in the Kagan system. We don't do like 5 days of Kagan. We do a 2-day version of Kagan. And we've worked hard to save money in working with the Kagan company, in that we actually host a regional Kagan training, and we get a huge discount by hosting that out at Ridgeview Middle School. And so it provides support for our teachers as well as support for other new teachers in the area. Our monthly trainings are all after school. We don't do any pull out during the day. That just became too problematic with our numbers, trying to pull so many teachers out during the day. So we have the team and I, we work about, it's a 2 or 3 days a week, honestly. And we do training in smaller groups, but a small group for us is about 60. Because we'll have about 30 teachers, 30 mentors, and a cohort of about 90. So over 3 days, we'll have, well, the cohorts vary, but over 2 or 3 days, we'll have about 60 each night. And the cohorts range from about 90 to 120. So we spread those out to give the candidates options, and in terms of space, we can't fit that many people in any of our facilities. Mentor training is a very important piece. The California Commission recently revised what's required for mentors to be trained. I'm proud and happy to say that we were already pretty much on top of the changes that they were suggesting, and we were already doing a lot of those things. We have to document a little closer to be able to show CTC for accreditation that we are providing training and coaching conversations, training and observation and debrief, as well as training and building those relationships. And, you know, being a mentor it's not as much about being a model per se with a specific lesson design. It's a little bit more about having those conversations with the teachers, challenging them, knowing when to challenge them, and then knowing when to pull back a little bit and provide them with support if they're feeling overwhelmed. So we're really proud of our mentor team, and they do an amazing job. I think they're part of the key to the retention that we have here at the district are those mentors and really developing those relationships. We have on-site coaching as well. Principals will reach out sometimes if the mentor is having some challenges, or if a candidate needs a little extra support. Robin Narhar Korea was one of our TOSAs, and she was out quite a bit with a couple of candidates, working, kind of watching and having the mentor in there and kind of collaborating on helping these teachers refine some of their strategies in the classroom. So all of our teachers on assignment do visit sites. One of the most powerful things I think that we facilitate, this last little bullet here says a variety of professional development activities. We've gotten pretty good at providing teachers with the opportunity to observe one another. And we have a wonderful, well, I don't even want to call it a bank, but a wonderful resource list of strong teachers in the classroom, seasoned teachers, and sometimes newer teachers who are willing to have other teachers come into their classrooms and observe what they're doing. We work with the principals on designing these experiences, and normally what it might look like is maybe 2 mentors and 2 new teachers will be matched up. Maybe they're a 4th grade, and we'll set up 3 different sites so that they can go out and visit those sites, observe. They have an individual goal setting sheet that they're working on. And so they're aligning their learning with the goals they've set for themselves. And then the mentor and that teacher debrief on how they might implement what they've learned in the classroom. And it takes a lot to plan this. We actually developed some process charts about how it starts and how we move through it, because there's a lot of moving parts to be sure that the teachers are ready and willing to have folks come in, that there's not other activities going on at the site. But it's one of the most valuable pieces, I think, of the program, as it complements the goals they're setting for themselves. So here's some numbers that I'd like to share. This is the, oopsie, let me go back. This is the most recent totals. So I'm looking at it at 2 places here. So currently, for the 1920 school year, as you can see, we've got 47 teachers who are in their 1st year of induction. And I don't want to go too deep into the weeds with what induction is all about. They have a project that they work on, and it's typically a 2-year process. Folks who are interns can come into induction and just do 1 year. And so that's why you see the numbers might look a little bit wonky as you look across. So for year 1 induction this year, we have 47 folks. For year 2, we have 73. So just know that people who are teachers who are serving as interns can jump right into that year 2. For emergency permits this year, we have 68, which is come down a little bit. You can see that peak in 2016-17. Ooh, oh my goodness, that was quite a year. It's exciting to note, though, and I'll talk about this a little bit more on the other slide, that our system, I think, is working well, in that many of those folks who came to us in 16-17 on emergency permits continue to stay with us and continue to grow with us. And again, I really, I give the mentors a lot of credit for building those relationships. Speech pathology folks, I collaborate with the special ed department on that support. We don't monitor that support specifically. We work with, they have a speech pathologist on assignment, and she really is the expert there. But I wanted to show those numbers because we do keep them on our radar to be sure they are matched with someone for support. And then the last row there is our classified grant. And we're excited about the progress of the classified grant. In 2016, we had 35 candidates come to us. These are all employees of our school district. They are paraprofessionals, they are special ed aides, they might be general activities aides. We even have a couple of front office folks who have a desire to become teachers and who had some coursework under their belts already. We expanded that the next year in 17-18, that total of 70, 35, the other 35, many of those folks are from Tulare County. we didn't necessarily partner with Tulare County, but we wanted to provide opportunities for Tulare County. They weren't able to write to the grant. And so we wrote to the grant, and we have folks from Woodlake and Exeter, Tulare County Office of Ed, Orosi. So we have folks that are a part of this program. They are all classified employees with goals to become teachers, and they receive financial benefit. Brittany Valencia, who's on our team, takes the lead on our scholarship folks, and they actually submit receipts, and they get $1,500 each semester that goes toward their schooling and towards all of their tests. Last year, we lost a candidate, and it's juggled a little bit. We've replaced and then replaced again. That last box, I don't want it to be misleading. We are not down to 50 candidates. We actually still have our 69 candidates, but 19 of those are now teachers. And so this was the goal of the program. And we are just really proud and excited to be able to share that it seems to be working. We're investing in our own, we're growing our own. And so many of these folks bring so much as a new teacher, even though they're coming in as an intern, they have already been in the classroom and been working closely with teachers. And so 19 of those folks are interns. Many of them are still working on their coursework, and we're hoping that that number will continue to grow. The grant lasts 2 more years. So we're hoping that number will continue to grow. I wanted to also kind of connect back to some data I actually shared last year, but I wanted to revisit it a little bit. And this is what I alluded to on that first slide when we looked at the big chunk of emergency credential folks that came on. There's a total of 111 folks that came on in 2015 who were STIP-PIP intern. And what I did is I tracked those folks to see what happened to them. Did they stay with us? Did they leave? You know, it's kind of that show like, where are they now? And the data that I came up with, which is, you know, kind of generic data here, I didn't break it down into subject areas or anything like that. But I just wanted to show the board that about 70% of those folks have remained with us. And so that leaves the balance have left for various reasons. About 8% were non-reelects. And I say that we know that they were on the non-reelect list, but they chose to resign. But I wanted to note that because I wanted the board to understand that, you know, in any group of employees, there's going to be strong ones and ones that maybe aren't strong. So I wanted to just kind of demonstrate what this would look like. About 10% did leave Visalia Unified for various reasons. I don't know what those reasons are. They could have moved away, and it may be that they may not have been happy, but I think that's a pretty low number and quite a variety there in terms of we don't know why they left. And then about 12% of those folks weren't finishing the requirements they needed to complete in order to move to the next level. So I wanted to just share that, revisit that information with you to show the trend over time in terms of the support that we provide. Some new information was requested, and I put together some real-time information. So I wanted to just chat through these slides a little bit, and then we can take some questions at the end if you all would like to dig a little deeper. So what I did is I looked at our total list of retirements and resignations currently. So there are 81 folks thus far. Now we know that can change as we get into the summer. There may be more resignations and retirements, but I thought, okay, this is a little cohort we can kind of look at. So let's analyze this little cohort to see maybe why folks are leaving. I know sometimes you'll hear people say about any school district, you know, our retention is not good, or we have so much turnover. And I wanted to speak to this just a little bit. Gotcha. Secret notes going on. So with this particular slide, you can see that of the folks who are leaving the district, there are 31% are retiring, 38% were actually that non-reelect category. So that's that part of it. 16% were moving out of the area. 10% were unknown. So those are the ones where we're not sure if they left, if they were unhappy, but we were able to hone in on some of the folks who were moving away for this more recent data. There were 3 folks who actually left the profession. They discovered as an intern that this was not what they wanted to do for a living. And so 4% actually left the profession. And then there was one person in there who was, who got promoted. So I just wanted to give you that that picture. So when you look at that, I don't know that we can say we have folks leaving Visalia in droves, you know, because they're unhappy. Looks like we have about 10%, which I think is kind of a normal kind of turnover. So I just wanted to break that down for you so that you could see, you know, the realistic numbers. The next slide is these next 2 are pretty quick. As I was looking at this information, I thought it might be interesting to see the folks that are departing and by a credential. So you can see there, these are folks who resigned. These are not including the retirements. These are just folks who resigned, whether they were non-reelects or not. These are all resignations. So about 43% of those were clear credential, and then some preliminary, some emergency, and just a few interns. And then as I was continuing developing this, I thought, well, I wonder what it looks like by subject area. So you can see there, we've got elementary at 28%, SPED at 25%, but if you put all the secondary together, that's 47%. So there's quite a few secondary. You know, English, math, and science, those are tough teachers to hang on to, and they're tough to find. And when we do find them, sometimes it's not the profession for them. As a matter of fact, the 3 that left the profession were a part of either science or math. So they were discovering it wasn't for them. This slide really is about our responsibilities from CTC, and I really pretty much went over all of that already as I talked through our program. The Peer Assistance and Review, the PAR program, I will let you kind of take a look at the bullets on those slides there. That the PAR program was in place to assist seasoned teachers who were not getting strong evaluations with a system so that they could grow. And with our new evaluation system, which is more of a coaching model, we haven't needed PAR. And I know specifically my team of TOSAs have reached out. We had 3 folks, they were not on PAR, but they needed some additional support. And so we provided that support in line with the evaluation system, which is it's a coaching system now. So that's worked really well. The exciting news that I wanted to share, we have our induction program for teachers. After about 1.5 years of a lot of writing and working together with my team and with CTC, we will be offering an induction program for principals. They have a different set of standards that they work with, but we're excited to offer that free for our principals, and we're anticipating about 35 to 40 candidates in the fall for our administrators. Some of the COVID-19 updates and impact, I will let you can peruse this list here. I wanted to let you all know that mentors are still connecting with their mentees as those new teachers are working on reaching out to their students. There's been some adjustment to our program in terms of the final exit interview. That's going to be done as a video. And if you'd like to see any of those videos, we will share those with you. And we'll also be working with our new student teachers coming on board. There's a special waiver for them. So that's the CTC is taking all of this very seriously about trying to support those folks as they're trying to get all of their requirements done. And that is the end of my report. If you have any questions or would like me to flip back to any slides, I'm happy to answer those.
Is there any public comment?
There are no calls at this time.
I'll take board member comments.
I have a comment.
Mr.
Yes.
Foster? Ms. Gamoyen, go ahead. I'll get back to Mr. Foster.
Okay. So Shelley, this looks all wonderful. I have to say it's the best profession ever. And I actually thought more teachers were leaving our district, but it seems like we are training up our teachers. We're even training up our own, and they're staying. And I think that's because VUSD is a good place to work. So thank you.
Thank you, Walta. And I would agree with that. Our program is a part of it, but you know, it takes all of us to support all of those teachers for sure.
Mr. Foster, you have a comment? Can't read your lips, sir. Can you turn on your microphone? Mr. Guerrero.
It's a real good program, real nice program, and I'm glad you guys are working on the principalships and how people can become principals and doing a program for them. The one concern that I do have, and just looking at your slides, is the non-reelects, the percentage. I think I saw 38% of non-reelects there, and it just concerns me because I believe that we're putting all this work into folks, and they're also putting in the work, and I just feel that sometimes some folks need a different site. If they're not making it at one site, then let's move into another site, because I know, and I've talked to people that have non-reelected at Visalia Unified, but then they go out to another district and they become successful. You know, I think you have a wonderful program, but I think that whole non-reelect percentage, that's the one that concerns me. I think everything else, great program. But I'm not attributing the non-reelect to your program. I'm saying that where the teachers are being put, if they're not being successful, then we should do everything that we can, move them to another site, move them to another area to work with somebody else so that they can be successful. Because I've seen people that non-reelected people here were non-reelected here in the school district, and they're working at other places, other schools, and they're being successful there.
And if I may, I thank you so much, Mr. Guerrero, for your comments. Just in terms of data, for some reason this year, our non-reelects were a little more than in the past. But you know, it's a difficult decision a principal has to make when you're looking at those students and you want to be sure that they are getting the very best. I do think sometimes it's not a good match, but I wanted to share with you that there have been instances. A non-reelect doesn't necessarily mean that teacher can't come back to Visalia Unified. We have had some wonderful success stories of folks who weren't successful at a particular site, and that principal was like, you know, I don't think they're a good fit here. And another principal picked them up, and I can think of 5 right now over the last 2 years. And I think there's more than that, but I can think of 5 right now who once they got in the right spot, it worked out well. And some of those non-reelects, again, just like any profession or any career or any business, some of those teachers shouldn't be there. So it's a tough one. It's a tough one, but I really appreciate your comment.
I would agree with Mr. Guerrero.
I worked in management for 35 years, and I'm going to just say that, you know what, it's not who's more qualified or whatever, it's the best match person.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Sometimes the site that they're working at, we move them around and they become successful at another site. That's just my comment. And I think that that these folks are investing a lot, and we should maybe go a little bit extra to see if we can make them successful.
But I think one of the problems is somebody serves a year and they get shot down because they didn't get along with the principal, or there were personality conflicts or whatever, that rather than making them truly a non-reelect, to do as Mr. Guerrero suggested and try them out with another principal and give them that opportunity, so they won't have to go back out and start over again, whether they come back to us and reapply or whether they go to another district, but they lose time.
Yeah.
Mr. Foster, I'm sorry, Shelley, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to speak to that, Mr. Crabtree, and it's hard to document what may go on behind the scenes when you see these lists. I mean, we could go back and look at, maybe we're hiring someone on a STIP or a PIP and they become an intern and they are new and they are green, and often they're not non-reelected. If it's not working out, we do move them. We work with the principals and we do that as much as possible.
Okay.
It's not a perfect system, but we want them to be successful. Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Foster?
You hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, great. Mrs. Groom, thank you for your report. It's a tremendous report compared to last year's. Last year's was good, but this year's is tremendous. I'm just wondering, how much time in hours does each mentor spend with a teacher? I realize I don't expect exact hours, but how many on average does a mentor spend with each applicant?
Actually, that's a great question. They are required to meet with their candidate. It needs to add up to 40 hours over the entire school year, but the suggestion is once per week. So they usually meet much more than that, but for CTC, we have to document. They do a log system, so they have to meet face-to-face for at least an hour once a week, and that's outside of school time. That 40 hours needs to be dispersed throughout the school year also. So, and we track all of that data. We have a system in place where the mentor lets us know what they're working on. They submit it into, we have a little system, it's called Induction Support, and we're able to run reports to ensure that the mentors are meeting consistently with those candidates. And most of them meet more than the 40 hours. It's 40 hours minimum, but they meet more than that.
And you mentioned the prep period for each individual candidate. How much prep time for each candidate did they spend, let's say, during the year? Or
so what do you mean by
well, you mentioned that you mentioned in your report that there was preparation before the meeting with the candidate. I was just wondering how much time you spend before you even meet with the mentor, with the candidate, how much time the mentor prepares.
So yeah, we do some, are you speaking to the training of the mentor before they get matched?
No, the time they prepare before they meet with each individual candidate. How much time do they prepare for each individual candidate before they even meet with them? Let's say they're going to have a meeting at Monday at 9 o'clock. Well, how much time do they spend before they meet with that candidate at 9 o'clock?
That's a great question, Mr. Foster. I'm sure that it varies. There are things that they do prepare. We don't necessarily track that, but there are documents and questions that they gather, that they ask. So that's a really great question. I could check in with the mentors and see kind of on average how long it takes them to prepare. But we don't track their preparation, but there is preparation there.
Yes, I expect there would be. And last question, isn't 10% a low percentage? I would think 90% success rate, that's called an A. Is it not?
Yes, if you want to look at it that way, sure.
Yeah, well, then I think you're doing a good job. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Foster. Thank you, board.
Ms. Gamoya.
I do have one. Yeah, I have one more comment. Teaching isn't for everybody. And I suspect a lot of those non-reelects did not have to do with movement to another place. I think it's important. This may sound a little harsh, but I think it's important that that the people that are not suited for this profession, that they find out early. I think moving them to another place is not necessarily going to solve the problem. And so I have an issue with keep working. So I think it's important that those that aren't suited for the profession are weeded out. Well, yeah, that's a bad way to put it, but that they leave early on in the career rather than being stuck in a career that, that's not suited for you. So that's just my comment there.
Absolutely, Ms. Gamoyan, and the 3 that we had this year actually left mid-year. We worked closely with the principal and the mentor. That mentor was in 2 instances, I'm pretty close to the mentor, even personally, and she said this particular teacher was just having a really difficult time. Teaching just wasn't for her. She wasn't what she thought it was going to be, and we really agonized over, okay, but she signed a contract, she should be here, but she was so unhappy, the kids were unhappy, and it ended up working out in the end. We did find a replacement, and it's true. It's like any profession. You try it, and it may not be for you. It may not be what you thought it was going to be. At the same time, part of the role of those mentors is to care for the human, and I was really proud of the mentors who were working with these 3 in particular to really try to help them work through really their own personal goals about what they want to do with their lives. And so, yeah, we all have to play part-time psychologist sometimes in this profession, and those mentors were very strong and helpful and supportive in that for those folks.
Mr. Guerrero?
Yeah, Walter, I like you a lot and everything, but over the years, and I've been a school board member for a number of years, I've seen big lists on non-reelects. I mean, I'm glad that the lists are going down. I'm glad we have this program, but those lists have been very substantial, and I just feel that, and I know people personally that have been successful at other districts, and all I'm saying is this, is that, you know what, we can't just throw them out just like that. There were too many big lists that I saw in prior years.
Thank you. Any other comments? Any public comment come in?
There are no calls at this time.
All right, now we come to the exciting, thank you, Mrs. Groom.
Thank you so much.
Now we come to the exciting part, and I'm sure that Ms. Travis has something for us in her board report, in her student board report.
Mr. Crabtree?
Yes, Mrs. Ravelin, Dr. Ravelin.
We need to do 7.1 if that's okay.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I always leave you out. My apologies. All right, enclosure number 27, VUSD revision on board policy 6146.1, high school graduation requirements.
Thank you. Last board meeting on April 14th, this policy was brought forth to you so that we could allow Sequoia and Creekside Community Day School students to meet the minimum state requirements for graduation during this school year only because of the pandemic. It's been difficult to offer some of those students all of the elective opportunities they would have had during the regular school year. And so the board graciously passed it to allow those 2 schools to meet the state requirements instead of the enhanced district requirements. I neglected to add Visalia Adult School to that, so I'm bringing it back to you to ask you to add the Visalia Adult School to this policy. Again, this is just a 1-year exemption from the district requirements, but they'll still meet the state requirements.
If there's any public comment, please feel free to call in. I'll take board comment. Dr. Vasquez?
So moved when we get there.
Okay.
Second.
I have a move and a second. Is there any public comment? I have a motion by Dr. Vasquez, second by Mrs. Naylor. How does the student rep vote? In favor. John Crabtree votes in favor. Mrs. Naylor votes in favor. Mr. Guerrero
Yes.
votes in favor. Mr. Fulmer?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Foster is a yes. And Dr. Vasquez is a yes. And Ms. Gamoyan is a yes. Thank you all. It's unanimous. Now we will move on to the student rep report. Ms. Travis.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here. I'm Savannah Travis, and I'm the student board representative from Redwood High School. And so even though students are not physically attending school, there is still a lot going on. I would suggest students and parents to follow their high school social media accounts because there's a lot of information being provided there as well as from other sources. For Redwood High School, their seniors cap and gown collection will be on May 5th in the student parking lot. The collection times are based on their last names. The Redwood Future Business Leaders of America is accepting officer applications for the 2020-2021 school year. The Redwood Blood Drive on April 16th was a success, and Redwood High School students can purchase a yearbook for this year on jostens.com. The Redwood Dance Force Hip Hop and International Dance will be holding auditions soon. More information will be available May 1st. For El Diamante High School, they are still selling yearbooks for this year at the cost of $90. El Diamante seniors are receiving a graduation yard sign as a gift for being part of the El Diamante class of 2020. And El Diamante students are participating in daily challenges to boost their spirits. For VTech, students can be featured on their social media account if they use the hashtag VTech School Spirit. So be aware of that. And then Golden West High School, they are having their cap and gown distribution tomorrow, Wednesday, April 29th, 2020, at the Visalia Adult School parking lot. Golden West seniors are receiving a free yard sign, signifying that they are part of the Golden West class of 2020. Golden West teachers are continuing to make positive, uplifting videos that the Golden West ASB is posting on their Instagram. For Mount Whitney High School, Mount Whitney is having their cap and gown pickup on May 1st at the Circle Drive in front of the school for their seniors. Mount Whitney is holding a quarantine dress-up week this week, where every day they have students dress up and tag at Mount Whitney ASB on their Instagram to be featured. And then life of the quarantine student, so this refers to all students, is we are getting used to the quarantine life, but we still miss social interaction. Students are taking this time to learn new skills, where we are learning to sew, paint, bake, garden. You've seen it all. Many students are studying for the AP test through the College Board website, and resources are being provided by College Board and teachers. The test will take place online in May. And then seniors are curious about graduation ceremonies, as I'm sure you are aware. I have received feedback, and people have suggested that maybe a survey could be sent out to seniors to see their ideas and feelings about ceremonies. And students are getting creative by Zooming with their friends, dropping off treats at their houses, and showing their love for each other, even with social distancing regulations in place. So we're all kind of doing the best we can in this time, and we appreciate all the efforts that the school board does for us.
Savannah, that is a great report. Thank you for staying in touch with all of the high schools and their goings on and bringing it back to the board to fill us in. It's great to have you.
Great to be here.
Mrs. Naylor, do you have a board report? Oh, Mr. Guerrero, do you have a board report?
Yeah, I have first I'd like to thank all the staff at Visalia Unified School District, classified staff, teachers, management, everybody that's out there trying to support our programs that we have, feeding the kids and providing the distance learning and staying in contact with the students and whatnot. And I want the staff to know that the board really appreciates them. That said, I have a few questions here. I'd like to request a cost analysis on these adjustments that are being made in the arts or VAPA programs, specifically in the middle school. And I want to know exactly how much cost saving is occurring. I'd also like to request, I'd like to get a report on the linked learning class sizes, whether those classes are full, if they're at their capacity. I know we're out of school right now, but we do have some data. And my other thing that I'd like to request is that the people that are making these decisions with regards to the arts, that they take a look at a study that was made out of Stanford University by Shirley Bryce Heath, and where she talks about the arts, and she talks about how the arts are used to develop and teach the work ethic in students. And because that study is very impactful. It was done with anthropologists, cultural anthropologists that studied high school students, okay? And I think it's important if we're gonna be making adjustments in the arts and VAPA, that, you know, people really get an understanding how the arts can promote the work ethic. That said, it concerns me that we are cutting drama programs at Valley Oak, and it concerns me that the Visadero doesn't have a drama program or hasn't had one in 5 years. And it concerns me that our LCAP is being used to support our linked learning. For example, the last board meeting, we sat here and we saw a slide that where they had $5 million and how all their programs. And I was asking for an adjustment on VPI, not to eliminate, but to reduce the amount of money. Another board member, Ms. Vasquez, Dr. Vasquez, was asking, well, you listed all this money that you're receiving, but there was no listing of any of the grants they're receiving. You know, I'm concerned there, and I'm saying right now that if we're going to be making adjustments, that we make an adjustments and move some of our LCAP money back into that 7th grade middle school level, so that we can keep our arts programs at that level. And please, I'm not just saying what I'm saying. If you're educators and you study and you know and all this other stuff, well, you need to know that the work ethic it can be taught via the arts. And for that matter, I submit that the arts should be included if we're going to be supporting, to the extent that we have, if we're going to be supporting linked learning or educational pathways, that they be included as part of the educational pathways, since we're using a lot of money out of LCAP to support those programs. And you know, the demographics at Valley Oak and the Visadero support what I'm saying in terms of how LCAP is being used. And I will cite Mount Whitney again, because when we went over there for that WAS study, the board got an earful on LCAP and how LCAP should be used. And I want to sit here and lecture the board, but I'm just saying, look for yourself. It's online, there's studies there, and look at how the arts support the work ethic. And look at that study. It's done by Dr. Shirley Bryce Heath and Elizabeth Soap. Thank you.
Mr. Fulmer.
No report.
Mr. Foster. Can't hear you.
Yeah.
All right, now we can.
Now, I want to thank Ms. Travis for the mention of a survey about the graduation. I really want to see that survey. Also, I want to thank the staff, especially those people who are handing out the meals. I know other districts are struggling, and I want to thank our superintendent for increasing the amount of meals that is being passed out to our citizens. Believe me, they need it. And they're doing it in a very orderly and concise fashion. I want to thank her. She should be congratulated along with the rest of the staff. Thank you.
Dr. Vasquez.
Thank you, President Crabtree. First of all, it's great to hear what the students are doing and how they're really stepping up and making those changes. We all know how resilient our students are, and it really makes me happy to hear some of the stuff that they're doing and they're coming up with. So thank you. Thank you for a report, and I'm so proud of our students. I would like to have the schedule of when they're picking up their stuff and the times. I would love to just drive over and watch. You know, graduation for us is also just one of the perks. And we can do it safely by watching the cars, but you know, I would love to at least see the process. So if somebody could send me the schedule as to what time. I know that our student rep here gave us the days, but the times maybe I could sneak over in my car and at least watch and see. What else? I like the idea of having a survey for the high school graduation. I did send some stuff to Dr. Raveline about the talk of having a national graduation. I know it's been difficult for students, and we've been getting a lot of emails about, hey, you know, our students have worked so hard and consider, you know, doing the graduations. We just know that's not practical at this time, but just like the students have shown us, why don't we do something special for them, and we can do it online, and we can help and support them, you know, to maybe we have an all district graduation, or maybe we work collectively on doing a statewide or being part of a national graduation. I mean, there are so many options. I mean, these kids know what they're doing online. It's not like us trying to figure out how do I put on my camera and my stuff. I mean, these kids really, and we've got some excellent video programs. And so let's not just have a survey, let's put a task force on it. And let's get students from the high schools to work on that, and then see how we might be able to support them, because there shouldn't be a lot of cost involved. They've already got their caps and gowns. We've already got students. You know, anyway, that's just my 2 cents. I like they did a survey. I want to remind people that the census is still going on, and please, if you haven't done yours, do yours, and then turn around and talk to any family members and neighbors. Our funding depends on that. Our ability to provide mental health services and all the emergency stuff that's happening right now really depends on those numbers. So if you haven't done your census, take a time, figure it out, get somebody else to do it. The other thing is, yes, thank you staff for doing such a wonderful job and hanging in there. You know, we've been scrambling around at the beginning because it was also new, but I know so many people have been working so hard and stepped up. And then today and yesterday would have been the days we would have been doing the driver rounds with the bus. So up to all the bus drivers, this is your anniversary and your shout out to the bus drivers, and some of them are still driving around doing stuff. And then the idea that a second on what Mr. Guerrero, board member Guerrero, was talking about. You know, I don't talk a lot about my dissertation and my work, but it really focused on the positive team culture that can be brought up with music education. And part of the big thing that happened is that just we know teams and sports teams, we know the kinds of stuff that does, the music and the drama, they do the same thing. And so we really have to take a second look at this. In the last year, the district has been real good about transparency and bringing teams together of all the stakeholders. And so I just want to make sure that that happens, that what I'm hearing from the teachers, that they weren't quite feeling like they were involved with these cuts. And I know that our staff has been working very hard with our cuts, but if I can ask us to take a step back and make sure that we're including the stakeholders so that we can hear from students, so that we can hear from the teachers, and really figure out where we can get the funds to do that. I did not know that also that Visadero did not have a drama program. Again, the inequities that we're seeing are just startling. And we know that we've had, in many cases, the COVID has brought out and highlighted the inequities that we have. And so we're really going to have to take a good look at where we're spending our LCAP money, and to make sure that things are more equitable. And really, we've always been a very strong supporter of the arts, and let's do that. And that's all my report. Thank you very much. And thank you everybody for your hard work.
Mrs. Naylor.
Hi there. Hey, I want to thank Ms. Travis for the uplifting report. It's nice to hear that all the seniors and the students are getting together and rallying behind these tough times. So thank you. That really means a lot. And I know that our district and Superintendent Raveline has been working very closely with trying to coordinate graduations and trying to see what we're going to do. So I appreciate all that work. And I just want to also give a thank you to all of our teachers, our staff, our certificated, our classified, because it takes an army to get through this. And you guys have been amazing. So I appreciate that. I too have heard quite a bit from VAPA, also CTE. As you know, I'm a former CTE teacher, and I'm going to have to disagree with some of my fellow board members, but I think CTE is very, very important. Not only does it prepare students for job skills and for careers, if maybe they don't want to go on to a 4-year, 2-year trade school, but it also gives students an up when they go to college to get a good paying job because they have the skills. So I would I am not a proponent of cutting anything from our CTE or linked learning programs, but I'm also a very big proponent of our VAPA. So I do really want our, to make sure we have that transparency. We have all stakeholders involved in those conversations, trying to get, as much as we can to keep and protect those programs also. So thank you.
Ms. Gamoyen.
Well, I want to commend Ms. Travis also. That was just a wonderful report. I've had some discussions with Mr. Waters, who's heading a committee for getting a graduation. If by chance, and I'm praying, that we can go back to school before June, yeah, exactly, that we could have an actual graduation. But this committee is really working on some creative things. So I'm hoping we have a real graduation, but if we don't, I think there's going to be some great things that are going to happen. So I'm really excited about that. And I forgot there was one more thing and it slipped my mind. So thank you.
Well, that means it's my turn then. First, I support CTE. I always have. I think it's vital that we have the right programs. If we've got some that are weak, then we shouldn't have them. But I also support the performing arts immensely. Maybe because my granddaughter is so great that she's going to move right on up into high school and beyond and make millions of dollars and support her old mom and dad. But I also am looking forward to seeing the numbers crunched on the supporting that program. And I believe that they will support the decisions, whatever they are, ultimately to make any cuts that we do need to make in either CTE or the VAPA program. The other thing that I did was kind of interesting. I went out in the morning to Nutritional Services and had a chat with Gina to find out just where things are going with the program and the struggles she's having with providing the meals and the food that she can get. I also went over and watched them load a bus, and the bus drivers are all in there with their cleaning spray and wiping down everything before it's loaded on the bus. And then I took a ride out to Ridgeview where it was being distributed. And I can say that the process appears to be much, much smoother on that larger campus because they can separate how the food is, how and where the food is being distributed, and also where the curriculum would be distributed at the front. So they separate the two, which worked out very well. So I'm glad I got to see that. I think we are working out the kinks, but I also think we're going to continue to have many because of the logistics challenges for getting all of the food that we need and still being in competition with other districts will probably always be there. So anyway, that's all I have. Dr. Raveling, you have something for us?
I do. I have a lot of somethings for you this evening. Tomorrow, we will be pushing out another video and community communication through our typical phone, text, and email, as well as posting on social media. So I'm going to give you a few of the highlights that are coming out tomorrow for the public in our community. First, we are continuing the grab and go meals. The first week, we distributed enough food for about 2,500 children. This week, we are up to meals for 9,000 children across the district. And that is a box of meals to get them through the week of breakfast and lunches. So that's about 90,000 meals that are prepared. Those will continue, and that schedule is on our website under Grab and Go Meals when you get to the front of our VUSD website. So that is there. So that continues. We are also going to be pushing out next Monday our next round of curriculum. There is new curriculum in there, and the curriculum follows our district pacing calendar, and it is standards aligned. So it's the things that the teachers should normally be teaching at this time. We continue to teach online through Google Classroom as well as Class Dojo, so it's asynchronous learning. But the best part we hear from many of our teachers and parents and students is those phone calls home. A child should receive a minimum of 1 phone call each week, but many teachers are posting videos and then following up with phone calls to their students and sharing with us some beautiful things that they're learning about their children as they work with them. We also have special ed services, speech therapy, and other services that are continuing, and some of those students are receiving door-to-door delivery services for their materials that they need. We have checked out over 100 hotspots. We're waiting for more to come in so that we can activate those and get those out. We've checked out already about 250 Chromebooks. There's another 800 in the wings to go out. Before we could check those out, they had to be cataloged, so they had to be tagged like a library book so that we could check them out. We're continuing our cataloging process so that we can use those for our summer programs and then into fall, because we do anticipate that things might not be back in full swing in the fall. We're not really sure, so we have to be prepared for everything. Again, our high schools will be distributing the next round of Chromebooks and continue to do so. Some have already started. That is our first priority. That is next in line. We have also back ordered a lot of charging cords for the Chromebooks. So when we check them out, we need to give folks a charging cord with it. And so we have those back ordered as well. As usual, through email, phone calls, and online, our teachers are supporting our students, and that can continue, of course, throughout the rest of the school year. We do have a task force that has many surprises in store for our graduates in case we are not able to hold our traditional ceremonies. Ms. Travis mentioned caps and gowns are being distributed. It's important that students don't just rush to the school for any of these events because of social distancing. We're making sure that everybody has assigned times that they're supposed to show up and receive their cap and gown and their yard signs. It'll be the same for any other distributions that we do. So it's important to listen to the messages from the high school principals so that they have all the details of the information as to when they should show up. We want to make sure that we honor our graduates, and we have been taking all of the suggestions that we get from the community, parents, students, etc. We've received many, and those are going to the committee, which is headed by Mike Waters, our area administrator for secondary. We're also continuing with our plans for an exchange of goods, I guess you would call it. So we have many items that are checked out to students, like textbooks and instruments and band uniforms and athletic uniforms that have to be checked in. And students have things such as band instruments or personal belongings in the classroom that they need to retrieve. So we have a committee that is working on a plan for that would be spread out over a couple weeks. And we're working with Greg Price, our VUTA president, on that as well, so that the teachers could come in a week before students would return. And again, using social distancing, so just a small amount of teachers at a time on a campus, and then a small amount of students and their families doing the exchange. And that'll probably be through a drive-through sort of pickup delivery type of system. So we're working out the details on that because we also need to wrap that up if we're not allowed to return to school. We have determined that our high school courses for the summer will be all through distance learning. So we will have online paper packets as well as, I said that wrong, sorry, paper packets as well as online curriculum available. And so we're working through that. They will count for credit and have a letter grade like traditional summer school. It just won't take place face-to-face. Additionally, we're starting our plans for next year. So we have started on that. The governor has told us we need to be ready to toggle between coming to school and then if the outbreaks increase, pulling back. It may be, it's been suggested to us by the governor and the CDE, the California Department of Education, that we may not have all of our students at school at once. It could be 50% and they go every other day, and maybe 25% that come on a day. So it really will be depending on the direction that we get and the trends in the cases. So we have to plan for all scenarios. By then we should have our internet access and be able to do more online once we have internet coverage for our district. Some of the things that we're grappling with is that we have been told to plan for no COLA for the next 3 years, and that we should also plan on some budget cuts. So we do have reductions in classified service, certificated service, as well as management positions that we have started to employ already, continuing to examine how can we best support our students through these times of the pandemic, as well as now budget cuts that we're looking at. So going through everything with a fine-tooth comb, and there will be more to come on all of those.
Good report. Thank you. If there is any staff hanging around, you are dismissed at this time, except for the ones that are on the screen. And we will move on to the general agenda. Enclosure number 28, Health Insurance Renewal Rate Report. Kristen Corliss.
Should be good. All right. Good evening, board. Let me pull up my presentation here. Sorry. Oh, there we go. Okay. Thank you, guys. Good evening, Board President Crabtree, Superintendent Raveline, and the VUSD Board. I am back again. My name is Kristen Corliss, and I'm a director with the Human Resource Department for Visalia Unified. Tonight, I come to you with the annual renewal rate report for our health insurance benefits for the 2020-2021 school year. Just a reminder that as part of the budget development process, this presentation provides just really an overview of the VUSD insurance funding rates and options that we'll be looking at for the 2020-2021 school year. It really is for informational purposes, and there is no action required this evening. So as I stated, we'll be reviewing the funding rates this evening. Oh, there we go. Okay. So a reminder that VUSD does have an insurance committee. This is a committee that is comprised of representatives from all of our employee groups, including Vusd, Csea, and management. We do make recommendations regarding health benefits in order to maintain a viable health benefit plan for not only our current employees, but also our retirees as well. We have met, and I can officially say now that the VUSD District Insurance Committee has met remotely via Zoom, which is a first for the committee. So we're excited that we survived that process. So we will now review the self-funding rates. So every April, the self-funding rates are established for the upcoming plan year, and that plan year covers our health benefits really go from October to October every year, or October to September 30th. And so we really started to look at the rates for the upcoming plan year, which would start effective October 1st. The funding rates are calculated really primarily based on the estimated costs of our claims that are projected that we project will happen during that next plan year. And so we spend some time as a committee reviewing our utilization reports, looking at our health insurance over the past or the previous 12 months, and what types of claims did we see. I will share with you that the committee, there were some things that stood out this year. Unfortunately, we have a lot of members that are under our plan right now that are dealing with cancer, and the treatment for cancer is not cheap. And so we definitely saw an increase this year in claims, cancer-related claims related to those types of services. Also, just something interesting to share, it can be something as one medication. We have one member who, needed a certain kind of medication that wasn't covered, and that can increase our rates, just one medication. And so that's really what we review the previous 12 months to look at what do we want to plan for, what do we want to fund for over the next 12 months. And then administrative costs are also part of that, but primarily it's really what the claims projection will be. As we review that, please remember that we do have health benefit packages. And so we review for each class separately. And so right now we're looking at our certificated bargaining unit. And you'll see included in that package, and all of the slides will be the same, are going to be medical, prescription, dental, and visions. Under other health benefit costs, we do also provide EAP services. the Employee Assistance Program. We also provide life insurance for our employees, and there are some administrative costs associated with our plans. So on the left side under rates 2019, 2020, you will see what our current rates were for this plan year. So for example, under medical, this plan year, we were at $944 for medical per employee. Those rates will be increasing next year to $1,001 per employee. So if you go across, you'll see an increase of $57, okay? Really, if you go down to the bottom, you're gonna wanna look at kind of what that annual rate is. So for this plan year, for the 1920 plan year, for a certificated employee, the cost of our health plan was $15,771. And next year that will be increased to $16,494 for an annual increase of $723. And that is a 4.6 increase. So for our certificated members next year, we are seeing a 4.6% increase in our rates. We will then move on to classified. For our classified employees, they have two options. They have what we call the basic plan, and they also have what we call the buy-up plan or the plan B. And it really just kind of depends what they would like for their deductible. They have some choices there. So once again, the slide is set up exactly the same. You're going to see there what the rates currently are, what the rates will be for 2021. So currently right now for a classified employee, the annual cost of their health plan is $14,264. We are going to see a 4.7% increase to $14,926. That's about an increase of about $662 per year. For our members that participate in the buy-up, what we call the buy-up plan, we are going to see also a 4.7 increase in that plan. And something that I do want to point out, because you'll see that this is pretty consistent across all of our plans, we did see a rate increase in 3 of our areas, in medical, prescription, and dental, or excuse me, and vision. You will notice, however, that our dental claims were down a little bit over the past 12 months. And so you'll see that our renewal rates for dental actually went down a little bit, and that will be consistent across all of our groups. We then look at management, and this groups all of our certificated and classified managers in the same pool. You will see that currently the annual cost of a management plan is $14,667. We will see a 4.7% increase to $15,354. So once again, a reminder that we all are self-insured. Visalia Unified is large enough that we are actually our own pool. And so these are the rates that the VUSD Insurance Committee is recommending for the 2020-21 school year. The next part of the puzzle is then we're going to kind of look at what are the annual contributions. So now that we do understand that there will be an increase, the question is, where is the money going to come from? And as we prepare, and this is really why we do present this to the board for your consideration as we look at budget development and things like that. So as we look at annual contributions for your certificated, you're going to see that right now, their plan cost, or the plan cost for next year, is $16,494. Per the collective bargaining agreement that we currently have with Vusd, the district is contributing $13,925. The balance of the difference there, that is what will be negotiated this year with Vusd through the negotiations process. You will notice that is something tonight we open that up for Csea. Health and benefits is always something that we open with all of our bargaining units. When you look at that employee contribution there, you may say, Kristen, why are there 3 separate numbers here? So when we look at our certificated bargaining unit members, they actually have different things that they contribute to the plan. So the $1,258 that you see on the left, that is what it costs for an employee to cover themselves. So if I am single and I have no dependents and no spouse, it costs me $1,258 a year for my insurance, okay? If I am an employee and I have a spouse, okay, it costs me the $1,258 and $760 a year annually for my spouse, okay? And the $190 that you see on the far right is what our certificated members contribute for their dependents. Per dependent, up to 3. So that can go up to $570 if you have 3 dependents. No employee contributes more than $570, regardless of, how many dependents they have. It maxes out at 3 dependents. So as you look down, you'll look at our classified plans. We do see what the cost of the upcoming plan will be. We also see what our current contribution is, and you'll see what the current employee contribution is. The difference is what will be negotiated with our bargaining units this year, and the same for management down below. You'll see what the cost for the upcoming year will be, how much currently VUSD contributes to that plan, how much the employee contributes to that plan, and once again, that will be negotiated and worked through with our management units as well. So then we're going to go ahead and wrap it up, and it really is kind of what is the rate. So on the last slide here, what I do show you is this is really the estimated total cost increase. And keep in mind that we use the word estimated because we really never know. When we fund for health insurance, we're funding on what we anticipate our claims to be over the next 12 months. So with that said, currently right now, the data that you're reviewing on this slide is as of April 5th. So as of April 5th, we currently had 1,466 certificated employees on health insurance and 123 in addition who are retirees. 293 in management, 33 management retirees. And then you'll see the numbers below: classified 645 on the basic plan, 59 retirees on the basic plan, 365 on Plan B, which is that buy-up option, and 43 retirees have selected that plan in retirement. At the far right, based on the rates that I've presented this evening, you will see the estimated cost increase. So when we're looking at certificated, we're looking at a $1.1 million increase for those plans, approximately $223,000 for management, 466 and 279,000. And that rounds up to that number that has multiple commas in it down at the bottom. So when we look at all of our plans overall and the rates that we will be looking and that the insurance committee is recommending we fund at for next year, it will be an overall estimated cost increase to our healthcare of $2.1 million. So I am now here. That's the end of my presentation, but I am more than happy to answer any questions that you have or provide any clarity on anything I presented.
Is there any public comment?
I can't hear John. Is it just me?
Okay, while we're waiting for any, is there any board member comments? Ms. Dr. Vasquez.
Can you go back to that slide, please, the last one? Can you hear me? So my question is, the cost and increase, is that the district's cost and increase or the overall cost of increased benefits or cost? Does that make sense?
I apologize, Lucia. Could you repeat the question? I was working on my.
Okay, can you go back a slide, please?
Yes. Sure, that's easy to do normally. Let me see if I can.
Okay, let me just ask you this then. You talk a lot about the increase in cost. Is that the district cost? Or that's the overall cost that needs to be negotiated as to how much each one is going to be paying, each group?
That is correct. So the $2.1 million is the overall increase. Who pays that cost, whether it's the employees or the district, that is what will be negotiated with our bargaining units.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Board member comments? Is there any public comment, Mr. Boone?
There are no calls at this time.
Thank you. This is a no action item, so we'll move on to enclosure number 29, VUSD 2020 Summer Facilities Projects Review. Mr. Haley and Jerry Lemus.
Good evening, members of the board. Board President Crabtree, Superintendent Ravelin, and once again, members of the board. Sorry, I'm kind of trying to get this all going here, but let me go ahead and share my screen real quick. So I'll be tag teaming, like Mr. Board President mentioned, with Joe Haley, our Director of Maintenance. And so what we'll do is we'll start off with all our maintenance projects, and we'll have Mr. Haley start there, and then I'll take over.
Good evening, board members, Board President Crabtree, Superintendent Raveline. Again, like Jerry said, I'm Joe Haley, Director of Administrative Service, and I'll be going over some of the maintenance projects that we'll be completing this summer. Some of the projects, we've taken advantage of school being out to start. Some of these projects are either underway or completed. We'll start off with asphalt and concrete replacement. As every year, we do a lot of that throughout the school district. This year, we have Ivanhoe and Willow Glen. They will be getting brand new parking lots, being the old ones torn out, new and replaced, as well as resealing and striping the rest of the site. Four Creeks and the adult school, those are two projects that will be completed this week. Their lots got resealed and restriped. Riverway we're going to be putting concrete underneath their solar arrays so that makes a much more usable space out there for them. The way it's angled out there, it's muddy and never dries out, so can't get grass to grow. So this is going to be a good addition to their area out there. Also on asphalt at the educational complex, EOC will be tearing out that complete parking lot and replacing that. That'll actually start next Monday. We'll be doing the north half, completing that first. Once that's open that back up and then move to the south half. We anticipate that project to take about 2 months. All right, next slide. Flooring projects, we have two projects that are actually be wrapping up this week too. That's Crowley and Golden Oak. That's multi-purpose rooms. We removed the old floor tile in there and did polished concrete on those floors. Carpeting projects at Linwood, Willow Glen, and Mineral King will also take place over the summer. A lot of roofing projects going on this summer as well. La Jolla, buildings 2 and 3. VCIS East Campus the entire building will get a new roof. Global Learning Center, Building 11, that's the cafeteria. That actually is underway and should be wrapped up this week as well. Golden West, Pinkham, Green Acres, Highland, they're smaller buildings, portables that'll be re-roofed as well. Painting projects, a lot going on with painting this year as well. We'll be repainting the entire site at Ivanhoe, Mineral King, Conyer, Crowley, Global Learning Center, as well as the Compass Campus. The Compass Campus is another project because it's a small site. We went ahead and started painting that campus, so that should be done this week as well. So if you're out and about and happen to drive by there, hopefully you'll notice that it's got a new coat of paint on it. Valley Oak and Golden Oak and Pinkham and Golden West, they will have all of their portables at their sites painted. We will probably be starting some of those here this week or next because they're small enough projects that we can get them done within a week or two. Electrical projects, we've been doing a lot with lighting the last several years, multi-purpose rooms especially. And so this year, Valley Oak, we did replace the multi-purpose lighting in there with LED lighting. We'll be doing the same at Green Acres and Visalia. I have Valley Oak in there twice. That's my apologies for that. But Visalia's multi-purpose room will be getting getting LED lighting as well as the LD Monte Gym. We did the other 3 high schools a few years ago with new lighting. Now it's LD Monte's turn. So we'll be doing those here in the next few weeks or over the summer. We have a lot of rental portables throughout our district. This summer, we'll be removing 20 of those. As at the old Sequoia site, obviously they're getting a brand new school, so we'll be removing all 10 of the portables there, as well as relocating their current office trailer. Ivanhoe and Four Creeks will be removing 2 rental portables from their sites. Creekside, all 5 portables will be removed. VTech as well will be having a portable removed. We'll be adding a portable at Annie Mitchell, Crestwood, Golden Oak, and then 3 rental portables at Blue Oak Academy. And with that, I will turn it back over to Jerry.
So looking at modernizations moving forward, we have our big modernization going on right now at Golden West. We have phase 3, which includes the art and science building. That one's been going, it's underway and it's been going for a couple of weeks now. So that one will go into summer and continue construction there. We also started looking at phase 4, which includes our business building, as well as removing the administration wing from the boiler chiller, doing some work in there, as well as looking at the library building and doing some exterior lighting on the music building, which was already modernized early on in Measure E. So we'll just get some exterior lighting going on that one. Sycamore Valley Academy is also slated to get a modernization this summer. So we'll be going in there in their main building, which is comprised of cafeteria, administration offices, 2 kinder classrooms, and we'll be going in there and doing a full modernization. So removing finishes, doing all new, as well as site-wide technology and furniture. So that's what we have going on at that site. Visalia Adult School, they have some minor modernization that they're going to be doing to their Aspen building on the interior for new programs there. And then tag teaming with Mr. Haley will be working on the move of Creekside over to the existing Sequoia campus. So taking some of their existing classrooms and modifying them to get them ready for that program going in there. So that's what we have under modernization and miscellaneous projects. Going on to new construction, Sequoia High School will be wrapping that project up. For the most part, all buildings are complete there. We just have our final work to do with tech services and start programming all our technology there, computers, phone systems, data, all the network, getting that infrastructure going and ready for students this August. You know, we'll still continue on as per plan. So that's the next step here, which we'll be bringing tech services in this next month. The only activities that we have out there right now is just some planting. So we'll start to get a lot of the final irrigation things going on, as well as the play fields on the construction end. But for the most part, we'll just be working with tech services and bringing in all our furniture. Crowley Elementary, they will be getting 2 new permanent modular buildings to accommodate for their growth. So as Mr. Haley mentioned, we'll be removing some brown portables there and bringing in some new permanent modular buildings. 4 Creeks, they will also be getting the same treatment. So to accommodate kinder growth, as well as their SLC program, we'll be bringing in 3 permanent modular buildings. And at Linwood, their preschool program was awarded a grant, so they will be getting a brand new building at the Linwood site, which includes a new classroom wing as well as all the site work needed for like a trike path and a play structure. So that's what we have on the radar for new construction this summer. And with that, Mr. Haley and I will take on any questions and comments you might have for us.
If there's any public comment, we'll take it either now or after board members' comments. So any board member with any comments? All right, gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on, approval to move forward in the state's self-generation incentive program application process at 21 eligible schools. That's enclosure number 30. Is that Mr. Hernandez?
Sir, I'm here.
Welcome.
Good evening, board members, President Crabtree and Dr. Raveline. This item tonight is an application for a project, for a battery project at 21 of our school sites. I'm going to be introducing Mr. David Burdick with Terra Verde, who is also with us tonight. If you would please join us. He's going to run. Everybody. He's gonna run the presentation. I promise not to steal any of his thunder on the project, but I'll be here for any questions when he finishes.
Great, thank you, Nathan. And I just want to make sure everyone can see my screen and is looking at the presentation with our company logo. Excellent. Good. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And as Nathan mentioned, Visalia Unified has the opportunity to take advantage of a pretty lucrative incentive provided by the state of California that is poised to provide the district the entirety of the project, both capital costs and operating expenses, for 21 new battery energy storage systems. So it's rather exciting what it is that we've brought to the district. As you may already be aware, Terra Verde has supported the district for going on nearly 10 years in evaluating and deploying energy programs, including the existing solar and battery energy storage systems, which collectively over the past 6 years have delivered some $5 million worth of net financial benefits to the district. And continuing our partnership with the district and exploring and capitalizing on these opportunities for energy programs. What we're bringing to you today is the latest in the phases of energy project opportunities, taking advantage of a state incentive known as the California Self-Generation Incentive Program. So in the next few moments here, I'm going to just provide some context for everyone so we can understand what it is we're talking about. Talk about a solicitation process that Terra Verde has administered on behalf of the district, looking for battery vendors to provide proposals for this program. Talk a little bit about the nuance of this rebate program, and then talk about what it is that we're framing as next steps for this program. So to give everybody a quick context framework for this, the California Self-Generation Incentive Program has been a long-standing rebate program that has helped fuel the deployment of several emerging energy technologies, and more recently has been focused on primarily battery energy storage systems, like the batteries already installed at several of the district locations. But given the emergence of the California wildfire-related public safety power shutoff events that have occurred throughout the state, and in its continued emphasis for providing funding for energy projects in disadvantaged and low-income communities, the California Public Utility Commission late last year enacted several changes to this program, one of which increased a particular portion of this incentive program known as the SCHIP equity incentive. And with this increased incentive level, it allows schools that are in qualified, disadvantaged, and low-income communities to take advantage of a newly elevated rebate rate of 85 cents per watt hour, which is roughly the commercial cost of a new battery energy storage system. So at that raised incentive level, if a school's facility is located in a designated disadvantaged or low-income community, their battery project could be paid for with expected costs to be covered from both the capital costs and operating expense perspective of between 90 to 100% of those costs. This program is expected to open on May the 12th, and it will be likely fully subscribed, as this is an incredibly lucrative opportunity, and there's lots of public agencies lining up to submit their projects for this opportunity. And in the event that on May 12th, their program dollars are fully subscribed, the program will go into a lottery process, which is highly likely, and that's what we fully expect. So let me just be very clear that everything we're about to show you is extremely attractive and will likely be a lottery process. So it's not a guarantee that Visalia will be awarded any of the rebates that are being applied for under this program. It's likely that if the district is awarded some of these rebates, it'll be a portion of the wider portfolio of these 21 sites. But it's an incredibly lucrative opportunity, and I'm going to explain further the nature and the details of this program. As you may be aware, these battery energy storage systems are able to provide financial benefits in the form of reduced utility bills, as well as to participate in grid services programs that provide modest revenue stream opportunities for those batteries. So these batteries will both be reducing your Southern California Edison bills and also working for you when the schools are closed, and those batteries can provide grid resources and be compensated for that. So after discussing this opportunity with the staff, under the terms of our established engagement with the district, Terra Verde evaluated each of the locations within the district along the eligibility requirements for this incentive program. We then put out a solicitation requesting proposals from battery manufacturers and installers to bring their proposals for the equipment as was sized by Terra Verde. We then evaluated those proposals and then held a meeting with district staff to discuss those proposals and to meet with them to review those responses. There were 4 vendors that expressed an initial interest in this program, namely NLX, NG, SunPower, and Tesla. And after further consideration, all but NG decided to put forward a proposal. And subsequent to receiving those proposals, we held a meeting with the district staff to evaluate those proposals, after which the district decided to advance Tesla's proposal for further consideration. So that's the proposal I'll be sharing the details of as we move forward. So of the district locations that could qualify for the SCHIP equity budget, these are the following sites and the battery sizes that were included in this program. Again, this is due to the SCHIP eligibility requirements. A facility has to be designated as a disadvantaged or a low income in a low income region. It also has to have a certain amount of energy use profile to warrant the economic value of batteries. So these were the 21 sites that were listed as eligible and the battery sizes that are being proposed by Tesla. High level, this program will be delivering, if all of the incentive applications are awarded, which again is highly unlikely, but for the sake of the conversation here, if all of those batteries were awarded under this incentive program, the total profile of this project would include some 5,700 kilowatts of energy storage with 4 hours of duration behind those batteries. The total program expenses, both capital costs and operating expenses, would be nearly $21 million. And all of that, with the exception of the district's legal fees, which would be roughly $10,000 for this program, would be covered by the SCHIP incentive, meaning these batteries, from both a capital costs and an operating expenses perspective, is being paid for by the state's rebate program. The expected benefits from a financial perspective that Tesla is putting forward for this portfolio of batteries is some $4 million of energy cost savings and revenues. So that $4 million will be brought to the district again without any costs for the deployment of these batteries, with the exception of your legal fees. Here's a high.
Excuse me, could you back up again? One more. Fairview. We don't have that school anymore, do we?
This is Robert. It's the Global Learning Charter School site.
Oh, okay. So you're still using that name. All right. Very good.
Any other questions before we proceed? Hearing none, we'll keep moving. In terms of the costs, again, for this program, Tesla has.
I'm sorry, excuse me. Can you go? This is Board Member Vasquez. If you can go back one slide. So did I just hear you say that there would be no additional costs other than attorney fees? But yet I'm seeing here an application fee.
And I'll be explaining the details of that application fee here in a moment, because there will be a requirement for the district to submit the application fee for this incentive, which will be refunded to the district. So we'll explain the nature of that here in a moment. But allow me to dive into the details of the costs, and then as we get to the SCHIP application fee, I'll explain that in clear detail and then address your questions at that time.
Okay.
As it relates to the costs for this project, from both a capital expense and an operating expense perspective, the costs include both the battery systems themselves as well as their installation, a SCHIP required 10-year data management contract, which is a contract that the district will engage with Tesla to provide reporting to the program administrator that's paying for these batteries, as well as a 10-year operations and maintenance agreement with Tesla. So they will be delivering equipment, installation, operations, and maintenance, all covered under the state's SCHIP program. The program also covers the cost of our fee, the consultant costs, as well as the budgeted $105,000 for the district's inspector of record to provide oversight for these projects. Under the terms of the SCHIP program, the district's legal fees cannot be covered by that rebate, which we estimate to be some $10,000 to support the negotiations phase with Tesla and finally securing these projects. From a benefits perspective, these systems are expected to deliver, again, some $4 million in financial benefit, and that's representative of both savings from the SCE bills as well as those revenues from these grid services programs. Tesla is offering a 15-year warranty to back these systems, and is guaranteeing a certain amount of demand reduction performance annually. The details of the contract between Tesla and the district will be forthcoming, as at this stage, all we need is consent from the district to allow Tesla to go ahead and submit the SCHIP applications so that the district can present these projects for consideration for award under those incentive dollars. And then after notice of award, there will be a contract negotiations phase between the district and Tesla. And at that time, there will be much further due diligence, and I'll be returning to explain the nature of the contract and a much deeper dive into the financial due diligence around these projects. Let me address briefly the SCHIP incentive and the program cash flows, as there is this requirement for the district to pay the upfront of the SCHIP application fee. Under the terms of the SCHIP program, the application fee is set at roughly exactly 5% of the requested incentive amount. Again, it is highly unlikely that 100% of these projects will receive an incentive a reservation, given the extremely competitive nature of this program and the high amount of market activity that we're seeing. But in the event that all 21 batteries were awarded an incentive, that capital outlay would be just over $1 million. It's this number you see here at the bottom of the screen, the $1,041,654. This is due, again, only if the application is assigned to an incentive. It has to be mailed within 7 days of being notified by the SCHIP administrators that the district has been awarded these projects, and it will be refunded to the district upon completion of the installation. So there will be a cash flow implication related to these fees, but the district will be refunded this money. I'll also mention that should the district be awarded these incentives and it decide to proceed with contract negotiations, the district still has some 180 days to decide whether or not they want to proceed with these projects before it is fully obligated to follow through on these projects. There will be, once the SCHIP administrators notify the district that certain amount of the projects have been assigned an incentive step, the dollars will have to be sent to SCHIP to secure those rebates. In the meantime, Tesla will be entering into contract negotiations with the district. Terra Verde will be supporting those negotiations. And if for any reason the district loses its comfort level with this program, the district can decide to withdraw and will be refunded all of those SCHIP dollars, the SCHIP application fee. Once the district signs a contract with Tesla, the SCHIP funds will then be reserved. And after the project is completed, that SCHIP application fee will be refunded back to the district. All of this has been framed into this memorandum of understanding that's been negotiated between Tesla and the district. It's been reviewed both by Terra Verde as well as the district's legal counsel, and is ready for your review this evening. I'll mention that in terms of next steps, we're asking the district to approve this memorandum of understanding, which will then allow Tesla to finish its final efforts to secure these SCHIP applications, which have to be submitted on May 12th. Terra Verde will be working with district staff and Tesla to make sure that that deadline is met so that these projects are in line and ready for submission. And then after that May 12th opening of the program, shortly thereafter, the program administrators will notify both Terra Verde and Tesla of the status of those applications, at which point we'll be working with the staff to get the incentive application fees returned to the administrators so that we can secure those applications and begin contract negotiations with Tesla. Let's see here. So beyond that, Terra Verde, under the current engagement agreement that we have with the district, will be providing oversight of this program from both a contract negotiations perspective, as well as overseeing the design and interconnection efforts of Tesla, as well as managing construction and overseeing the commissioning of these systems, and then providing continued asset management services for these systems. So with that, I'll turn it over to the board. Please ask your questions. Happy to provide any insight that you may need.
Just wanted to add one more thing. When we do negotiate those contracts with Tesla for any projects that we do decide to move forward with, those also would come back to the board. So that'd be another point of for the board to consider approving this program.
Yeah, to be clear, all that's being asked is the district's consent to allow Tesla to submit these SCHIP applications. Once those applications are submitted, maybe none of the projects get approved, which would be an unfortunate case. Maybe some of them get approved, maybe a healthy portion of them get approved. Once the projects are approved by the SCHIP administrator, the application fee has to be submitted. And once that's submitted, then we can enter into negotiations with Tesla. During all of that time, the district has that time frame to get comfortable with these projects. Terra Verde will be providing additional financial due diligence, supporting the contract negotiations to make sure that the district's interests are protected and well represented, both in the installation agreements as well as the performance guarantees. And then I'll be working with the staff and be returning to the board with a final contract and framework for this program for your consent, should that timeline elapse as I just described.
All right, is there any public comment? While we're waiting for public comment, I'll ask for board member comments. Mr. Foster? You're not, hang on. We'll get back to you, Mr. Foster.
Back to me, yeah.
Okay, you're on now, go ahead.
Okay, the project sounds fine and reducing the district's energy costs. You mentioned that there was a lottery, and how long would, let's say project A was accepted, but project B is in the lottery process, how long would that lottery process be? I mean, how long
There's
would it take?
There's no firm deadline for the SCHIP administrators to complete that lottery process. Under the latest revisions to the handbook for the program that came out back in March, there's no set deadline for them to make their determinations under that lottery assessment, but we are asking the district to be prepared to move quickly relative to that incentive fee, assuming that it'll be a course of a couple of business days.
It sounds like a good project and everything, so I would be for it.
Dr. Vasquez.
Yes, thank you very much. I do have some concerns and a few questions, if you could clarify for me.
Sure.
So what you're saying is that there's a time frame to be able to apply, and then once everybody has made their application and got in line for this wonderful opportunity, that they really think that there's going to be many more applications and they can fund, and you're going to do a lottery system, correct? So far? Okay, so is that the reason why you keep talking about going into negotiations to take care of this? Is that because you won't know which site you're working with? I don't understand what the negotiations for if you already know you're going to have batteries, you're going to have the sites. I mean, you seem to have all the information, but now all of a sudden you're going to negotiate what price you're going to do the work at. If you could explain to me, wrap my head around the negotiations is one question. And then the other question is, why the low income ones, and what are those areas getting out of this as opposed to just anybody else?
Excellent questions.
Because nobody's going to complain because it's a low income school. Explain that to me, please.
Sure. So to your first question around the negotiations, it's unclear whether or not the district will be awarded these incentive dollars. And in the event that the district is not awarded the SCHIP equity incentive, there are other rebates available that can provide funding for these projects, but they're not nearly as substantial as what this SCHIP equity budget affords. Again, under the terms of this newly increased elevated SCHIP equity budget, at that 85 cents a watt hour, it pays for the cost of the project. To put that into comparison, the base level incentive for this program is less than half of that 85 cents. So it would be an entirely different economic profile of a project for the district to consider if that equity budget incentive is not assigned. So it wouldn't be appropriate for the district to engage in a contract with Tesla for these projects, given that the economic paradigm is largely dependent upon whether or not it's awarded these equity budget incentive amounts. There's certainly opportunity for further exploration of battery projects in the event that certain sites are not awarded an incentive. This is not the only incentive available for battery projects. It's just right now, it's certainly the largest incentive amount available in the California market. So that's why we're in this, call it preliminary evaluation phase. Once we receive notice from SCHIP which sites have been awarded, then it's appropriate for us to lock down the contract negotiations. To be clear, the price proposal from Tesla has been provided for each of these sites. So in the negotiations phase, Tesla doesn't have the opportunity to negotiate pricing up. The negotiations are going to be around the terms of the installation, the terms of the operations and maintenance contracts, the terms of the performance guarantees. So it'll be the terms of the agreements, not the price points, that will be negotiated, or I should say up for negotiations during that contract negotiations phase.
And the idea, you are our experts, right? You are our consultant because this is your business and you know what you're doing. What is your cut of all of this?
Yeah, so we have an existing engagement with the district, and under the terms of that engagement, our compensation is this $900,000 fee.
And that's that's just for this project, or is that what you usually have? You kind of look over all our solar, so you get a certain percentage of all of our solar because that's your job, right? Being the experts, bringing this stuff to us. So that amount, I guess I'm asking, is just the contingency fee for this project, or that's the way it works? Whatever you bring to us, then you get your cut. If you could explain that a little bit better, please.
Sure. So under the terms of our engagement agreement with the district, for projects that we are supporting the development of, we're compensated at a specified percentage rate with not to exceed amounts based on various kind of, call it project scale levels. And for a project of this scale, under the terms of that already in place agreement, for projects that exceed $15 million in value, our not to exceed amount is $900,000 of compensation. And again, that is to compensate Terra Verde for providing the development, the representation in the contract negotiations, oversight of the performance of Tesla through the design and interconnection phase, as well as the construction and commissioning phases.
So that's the amount that you can charge us. That's the maximum.
That's our, yeah, well, because this program exceeds that not to exceed threshold, we've hit our ceiling on this engagement. Now, again, it's unlikely that we're going to receive that full amount because it's unlikely this full, all 21 projects are going to be funded under this program. So that final fee will be set per the terms of our existing contract. That's not up for negotiations. Our fee structures were set with the district prior to this program. So whatever the final scale of the program is, our fee will be based on the agreement that we currently have with the district.
So it's a by project fee.
Yeah, call it by program phase. So our fee is set based on the scale of the program that we're deploying.
So if this ends up being a smaller project based on the amount of the awarded incentive, then that amount would be less also.
That's right.
Unless, of course, it's still at that 15, right? Because he's saying he's already hit his cap. If we go this far, he's still going to get that amount of money, whether we get this much or this much, because he's hit his cap. And my question about the low income sites.
Sure. So so this was determined by the state of California. The California Public Utility Commission is the one who sets the parameters around this program, and they have, I think it's 7 different, call it categories of incentives. And the categories of incentives have varying incentive levels based on, with preference to facilities that are located in designated disadvantaged or low income communities. And that's qualified under at least 3 different types of metrics, the details of which I can send you. We just recently published an article on this program, and I'll send it as a follow-up to this meeting to the staff. So you can either reach me directly or I'll send it to Nathan and you can ask him for it. But it provides you with direct information from the California Public Utility Commission in terms of how they've thought about aligning these various incentive levels. So for projects that are in these disadvantaged or low income communities, they get access to a much higher incentive rate than those projects that are not located in low income and disadvantaged communities.
Okay, but can you give me like the English version of what advantage that has to the communities? Or are they just saying, oh, the higher the need, the more, you know, and because what I'm hearing is the poorer the neighborhood, you can put more shit there and we're going to give you more money to put it there. So I really want to have an idea of not who did it, because you just told me that, but you're our expert. So I would like your opinion as to what advantage, is there any advantage to that disenfranchised community by having this project there, other than it being a spot where it's okay to put stuff there?
Yeah, so think of it this way. These energy resources are able to create, you know, incredible economic value, right? And without setting up incentive structures that give preferential treatment to these disadvantaged and low income communities, it's likely that fewer of these resources would be deployed there. And as a result, the economic value that's being created by these technologies would be inequitably, unfairly distributed into the more affluent or less challenged portions of our state, right? So in an effort to ensure that schools and public facilities that are in these disadvantaged and low-income communities receive, you know, at least the same level of treatment or have access to the same level of economic benefit that can come off of these technologies, the Public Utility Commission set aside, again, this is not the entirety of the program, just a portion of it, but they set aside this portion of the program to incent the industry to target and focus its attention to make sure that the cost, I mean, these $4 million of savings are going to be passed down to this district who has these facilities in these disadvantaged and low-income communities. So
since you've read the fine print, that $4 million, is there anything in the language that says it's going to go back to those exact sites, or that those sites have to use it for anything specific, or that a certain percentage has to be used at the site that's being used?
So those savings come to the district. So those are district savings for running this program. So the idea
So the answer is no.
Well, we haven't decided if we're going to share those, you know, with school sites, but we don't know what the full extent of the project will be. But the idea is that those savings come back to the district in terms of.
So the idea is the same as the LCAP and everything else that we do, that we use our number of poor disenfranchised people to bring the money in, and then the district uses it however it wants. So thank you. That answers my question.
Oh, brother. Mr. Graber?
Thank you. I think, you know, I think what we need to think about, you know, is a larger view. You know, we're looking at our 21 potential sites within this program, within our district of 44 schools. But if you think about it regionally, comparing us to Beverly Hills or San Francisco or San Diego, the idea of the incentives is to be able to create those savings for those districts in those low income and disadvantaged areas in order to benefit those districts. So while I appreciate Dr. Vasquez's perspective of, you know, 21 schools within our district, it's really a statewide program. And so they're looking at it from the perspective of which districts or which areas need to have those incentives to help them reduce their overall energy costs. So I think that's the larger view of why the incentives are surrounded around those areas.
Any other board member comments?
I have a question.
Bill?
This is kind of out of left field, but when we put this in, what is the lifespan of one of these projects before we start having to dump money into it to keep it up?
So under the terms of the contract, the district will not have responsibilities for ongoing maintenance of these systems. There will be a 10-year prepaid operations and maintenance contract covered by the SCHIP program delivered to the district. And the terms of the contract will place the responsibility for removal of this equipment on the part of Tesla. So there will be no kind of end-of-life cost implications for these systems. Now, these systems are warranted by Tesla for 15 years. All of the structures that we've presented to you are in the context of a 10-year program. in the contract negotiations phase, that's one of the levers that we can pull on to attempt to value engineer greater outcomes for the district. But again, the terms of this contract will be such that the district will not have any kind of maintenance responsibilities or end of life cost removal responsibilities. All of that will be on Tesla's, that will be Tesla's burden.
So when the stuff wears out, Tesla has to come in and take it away?
That's right.
Okay, my expectation is 15 years from now, we'll have different technology. Thank you.
Mr. Guerrero?
Yeah, Robert, we've been waiting for these incentive programs to come for quite a while, haven't we?
That's correct. Yes, we have. I think that the last time we were able to take advantage of the program, we were only able to do it at 5 sites. And so I think that it's very similar, very popular program, and we expect to be over enrolled yet again.
Yeah, and we wanted to do more of this before, we just couldn't because the incentive programs weren't around. With that said, I move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Guerrero to approve going forward with this project. Who's the second?
Fulmer.
I have a second from Mr. Fulmer. Your vote, Savannah? And Board President Crabtree is in favor. Mr. Fulmer?
Yes.
Is in favor. Mr. Foster is in favor. Ms. Vasquez? Where'd she go? Oh, there she is. In favor. Ms. Gamoyan?
In favor. I gotta
Okay,
get rid
the
of my
cat
cat.
approves.
Sorry.
Ms. Gamoyan approves. Mr. Guerrero?
I'm in favor.
Mrs. Naylor?
Yes.
It is unanimous that we move forward with this project. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to our final enclosure number 31, implementing Measure A, issuing bonds for modernization projects. Again, Mr. Nathan Hernandez.
And again, the last thing between you and a wonderful evening. So
There's an incentive.
I'm going to just begin with a short introduction. At the end of March, we brought the board the Measure A modernization projects that we look to move forward with over the next couple of years. And we talked about coming back to the board at this meeting to review kind of the mechanics of that bond sale. And so we have Mr. Matt Kolker and Ms. Lori Ranieri from Government Financial Strategies who are here tonight. They're going to present an overview of what the bond sale looks like and what we're looking to do here before the end of the fiscal year to issue these bonds.
Good evening, and I believe that I will be allowed to share my screen. And how's that look to everybody?
Just right.
So, Mr. Hernandez welcomed me by saying that I was the roadblock between now and a wonderful evening, but I'm hoping that you've had a pretty good evening so far with a lot of good business done, and that this presentation will be interesting and actually uncharacteristically brief. So we have a short agenda to discuss the Measure A planning considerations, the tax-based debt service, competitive bond sale process, disclosure to investors, next steps, and all of that in just 8 slides as per our understanding of the district's current standard for Zoom meetings. And I am all in favor of shorter Zoom meetings, as I have been Zooming since 7 a.m. this morning. Lots of material in the for reference section. Now, I did previously have a comment from a citizen about things being buried in the for reference section. They're not buried there. They're there so that we can go to them if need be during this meeting to address a question, and also so that you have them for reference when the context may come up at another time. So Measure A planning considerations, and I can't quite see you if you wave, so Mr. Crabtree, please feel free to interrupt me if you need to, if someone wants to ask a question. But as a reminder of the goal with respect to our bond issuance, you all know that Measure A was a $105.3 million bond measure, and if you wish to review what the text of the measure is, that's included on page 25. But right now, the district staff's identified $35 million for actual and projected expenditures over the next 2 years. The remainder would be issued in 2022. So what we're talking about is issuing 35.7 million to fund 35 million net that will be spent over 2 years. Now, what are our constraints in issuing those bonds? The target tax rate is $36, and statutorily, our maximum projected tax rate is $60 per 100,000. And I know that the board is very experienced with understanding bonds, but just a reminder that the tax rate, that word rate is stands in for ratio. It is the ratio of the debt service to assessed value, or debt service divided by the tax base. And that debt service comes from the amount of bonds we sell, when we sell them, the repayment structure, and the interest rates at which we borrow. Once we sell the bonds, the tax rates are not in our hands. They're done according to the county auditor controller. The taxes are levied and collected by the county treasurer tax collector, and the assessed values determined by the county assessor. Predominantly, some assessed values are determined by the State Board of Equalization. What we are doing at the district level is we make a projection of expected tax rates, and we want to be very conservative in doing that. We want to be conservative with room for upside, I like to say, so that we can take advantage of upside, but we don't want to get boxed into a corner where the district cannot achieve its goals. Now, the way tax rates work, each property is levied its pro rata share of the debt service, and that would be the tax rate times the property's individual assessed value. And as a reminder, that's not market value. And as a sample, you can look at a tax bill on page 29, or you can look at your own tax bill at home, and that will actually show you what your own assessed value is if you prefer to look at your own information. So the bonds will be repaid by the tax base. I've mentioned that the assessed values are determined by the county assessor, and some are determined by the State Board of Equalization. But it basically is driven by both real estate economics and Article 13A of the California Constitution, which you'll all remember was the result of Prop 13 in 1978. Now, we've been conservative, we think, with our growth assumptions, following what should result from these constitutional protections of taxpayers. Our data going back to 1996-97 shows that our actual experience of the compounded average annual growth has been just under 5% in total. Our net local secured assessed value, which is what people's houses and businesses fall into, is just over 5%. The lowest annual change we've experienced during this period of time was a negative 5.15% in 1 year, and the lowest 5-year change was a negative 2.18 on a CAGR basis. And you can see all of this detailed on pages 16 through 19, as well as the historical assessed value growth. You can look at that on pages 14 and 15. So, I'm sorry, I'll say 12 through 15 if you want to see more detail. But we've taken into account the history. In fiscal 1920, and that's the current year we're in, the tax base grew 5.41%. So that's the history. We're assuming that net local secured growth will be at 3% and all other types at 0. Now, you might be thinking with this coronavirus, what kind of loss could we withstand? We could experience a decline of up to 5% in 21-22 and still be on track to issue bonds as planned with that $36 or less planned tax rate. So we think we're well suited to make it through. Hopefully we won't still be talking about recessionary conditions in a couple of years. But interestingly enough, the history that our assumptions are based on includes the Great Recession. So that allows us to have some insight. Now, I mentioned that tax rates are also based on debt service, which is based on the amount and timing of bonds sold, how we're going to repay those bonds, and interest rates. And the amount and timing of bonds is based on the expenditure schedule needed for projects. And you are probably have some recollection of this rule about we have to have a reasonable expectation of spending at least 85% of the bond proceeds within 3 years. There is more information about that in the back. That's let's see, what page do I have that on? Well, I don't see it in my notes, so I'll have to get back to you, but I do have more information in the back on that. So the repayment structure is based on trying to minimize debt service while budgeting for tax-based growth and meet tax rate constraints. What we have to remember is that our debt service is going to be levied every year against our tax base, and our tax base is growing up. It is expected to go up every year. So if our debt service doesn't grow at the same rate that the tax base grows, if it grows at a lower rate, like for example, if it was flat like a mortgage, you would actually see tax rates start in the first year at their highest level and drop over time. What we want is a target tax rate that is steady. Our goal is $36 every year. So our tax base is expected to grow, so we want that debt service for both bond issues to grow in tandem. And with the first series of bonds, we need to make room for the second series. So I just want to remind everybody with Measure E, we restructured it through refinancing. So this is the idea of having conservative assumptions and then being able to adjust if the world is better for us. So for example, with Measure E, you may recall all bonds were paid off 4 years early. It was a total of 29 years. The average tax rate was 32% below our target, and the total repayment per dollar borrowed was $1.91, which is equivalent to a full amortization over 30 years. So there's been some concern expressed that with debt service sloping upward with the tax base, we're costing ourselves more money, but you can see that the strategy does not get fixed in time with the bond issue. Again, we try to set ourselves up so that we can live with an unfortunate circumstance, but take advantage of the upside when it comes. And that's exactly what happened with Measure E. Now, you might be wondering about what's happening with interest rates. And certainly March saw significant interest rate volatility. I say certainly because people were shocked at how fast the economy shut down and people weren't sure what to do. But volatility has settled down. Now interest rates are near record lows. And our bond financial plan included an adjustment to account for a potential increase in interest rates. In fact, an increase of 75 basis points. We're currently over 1% below where we were at the time of bond planning. So we have plenty of room for interest rate movement. And in fact, they've moved in our favor. Now, one of the best ways to get the best interest rates is by doing a competitive bond sale. We were concerned in March that the volatility might interfere with being able to do a competitive bond sale. We will be watching this very closely, but just this morning, we sold both an $8 million bond issue and a $100 million bond issue, and we have 5 bidders on each, not the same bidders. So we had a very active market. So that was great news, and great news for Visalia to hear. A reminder, you know this because we've done it before, but we have disclosure to investors when we sell bonds. That document is called the official statement, proving that the bond market is very creative. The official statement contains our official statements to the market. And before the actual sale, we have the preliminary official statement. And the purposes of the disclosure are honest and fair dealing. We want to disclose all material facts. We also want to have good relationship with our investors for the present and the future. There's additional information on the for reference section, but I am spending a few minutes on this because, or maybe not even minutes, but we are your fiduciary, which means we represent your interests above all else. And it is the law that you may not approve the preliminary official statement unless you know that it is appropriate, and you would not know that if you did not read it. So it's hard reading. So I encourage you to take a look at it and let us know of any questions. It will be coming in your board packet for the June 9th meeting. So that brings us to next steps. So we're getting closer to the rest of that wonderful evening that Mr. Hernandez promised. Tonight is just informational presentation. June 9th would be when we would ask you to approve the resolution authorizing the issuance of bonds and approving the associated legal documents in form. That would include the preliminary official statement, which will have blanks for the pricing on the bonds, because we will not know that until we actually sell the bonds, which will be June 24th. That's the day we have selected so far. And of course, that could move based on market conditions, but generally, we try not to move those dates because we don't know that things won't get worse. So if we pick a day and we're ready, we generally try to go with that. Now, Board Member Fulmer has experienced a bond sale in our office. In our office for you means on Zoom. We will bring you into the moment via Zoom if you would like to participate in the bond sale. That is a daytime activity. It happens in the morning because we're dealing with people on the East Coast as well as on the West Coast. And we certainly hope to have as many of you participate as you would like to. July 9th would be the day of deposit of the funds, and July 28th would be when we would present the results of the bond sale. So 8 slides may be the shortest presentation I have given in 31 years of doing this, and I will say thank you and be glad to answer any questions that you have. And I'll leave this up for just a moment in case we need to refer to anything, or unless Mr. Crabtree directs, I'll be glad to stop the share.
If there is any public comment, please call in. Board member comments, I see Dr. Vasquez had her hand up first.
Thank you. You always do such a wonderful job. It really makes me feel good. I know that we have an excellent whole accounting team there and financial team, but it's nice to have somebody that really knows this stuff, and you do a really good job of breaking it down for us. Did you say that it's June 24th, the day that you'll be selling our bonds? Is that the date that we want to put on our calendar if we want to be there?
Yes, and why? There we go. It'll be June 24th, and we don't set the time until we get closer, because we actually try to set the time based on what else is in the market. Sometimes we're trying to get ahead of another bond sale. Sometimes we're willing to follow it. But usually the earliest that we get started is 8 a.m. We either have a deadline for bids being due at 8:05, 8:35, 9:05, or 9:35. Again, that allows us to deal with the East and West Coast. And if you're wondering about the 5, in the old days, when we accepted fax bids, we don't do that anymore. Now we use an internet-based bidding platform, but we used to always give people that extra 5 minutes because we didn't want our best bidder to be 1 minute late and miss it. And now it's kind of a fun thing. All our bidders know that they get an extra 5 minutes with us. So, and believe me, they use it. Sometimes the winning bid comes in with like 10 seconds left.
Okay, well, I'm clearing my morning of the 24th. I'd love to experience that with you. And thank you again for your work.
Thank you.
Ms. Gamoyan?
Is there a possibility we could get that disclosure statement to read it before the June 9th packet if we're going to because if it's hard to read, I want time to read it. Is there a possibility we could get that before?
Yes, and I do have some tips back here for how to read it. And so
okay,
Matt will work with our team that prepares the disclosure and find out how early we can get that to you. And I'm sorry, I'm just quickly flipping through my slides to find where I explain that. Oh, here we go. Look at that. Tips for reviewing the disclosure. So these are my tips. Remember, it's set on an industry standard, and that's not meant to be a page turner thriller. Certain tables and information are always, like, the certain things are always on page 5 and other things are always on page 15, because that's what the readers want. We don't want to provide too much information because that can obscure what is important to the investor. What is important to the investor is all the financial information. How, what's the credit quality and how am I going to get paid back? However, it's always better to bring something to our attention so that it can be considered and discussed rather than assume we've already thought of it. So what I would say is the best way to approach this is sort of lay it on a table and flip through it so you kind of get the sense of what's in it, and there will be a table of contents, and then we will work to get that to you as early as possible.
That'd be great.
It's a little bit of a tug, push me, pull you, because it is supposed to be prepared at the last minute so that it is the most up to date, but we want you to be able to read it. So we'll see how early we can get something useful for you to review, and we'll communicate through Mr. Graber and Mr. Hernandez to you about that.
Thank you.
Mr. Foster, I'll go over to Robert here until you get unmuted. Robert?
Thank you. Thank you, Board President. Lori, you should plug your ears because we've always given the board, the shortcuts to reading the audit. And we tell them, read the front and then read the back. And then if there's issues in either of those places, then you read the middle. But Lori, as your fiduciary, she cannot tell you to not read the whole thing. It's really important that the board understands what the preliminary official statement says and what the official statement says, because that's our statement to not only our community, but to our investors. So Lori will never give you shortcuts on how to read that preliminary official statement or the official statement, because it's really important, as she said on her earlier slide, that the board understands what it is that we're telling the public in that investment, in that bond.
Mr. Foster?
Yes, my understanding of economics is usually supply versus demand. Well, listen to your presentation. It came down to debt service and tax rate. And isn't it to our advantage to do this as fast as possible, since banks would be having more need for demand as early as possible?
Well, this is a fantastic question, and I love to talk about economics, and I'm going to do it short because I don't want you to miss the wonderful evening. And I'm just trying to get to my page where we have the interest rates. And so here's where the market, you can see on this slide. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to make that the wrong color. Matt offered to run the slides for me, and I bravely said, I can do it, Matt. So what you can see here is where the interest rates were when we were planning the bond, and you can see how low they are now. And you can also see, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but do you see they kind of popped up here?
Right.
That was when everybody got scared. And what happened when everybody got scared, when we were all told in the middle of March to go home and do nothing, or whatever we were told, wash our hands, people get scared in an economic panic. And do you remember the movie It's a Wonderful Life?
Yes.
And do you remember everybody running to the building and loan to get their money?
Absolutely.
So that's what happened. People ran to the market, and if people had money in mutual funds, they were drawing it out. They wanted cash. If they owned bonds, they didn't want to be stuck invested in bonds that might not mature for 10 years. They wanted cash. So a huge amount of bonds got dumped on the market. That meant the supply went up. That means that the interest rates that you have to offer to get people to buy your bonds when they're competing with all these other bonds in the secondary market go up. Does that make sense? The interest rates rose because the interest rate is the compensation for buying a bond, right?
Right.
And so they went up. And then what happened was everybody said, why am I taking all this money out of the market? I can't go out and eat. I can't shop. I can't spend it anywhere because everything is closed, okay? So then the money comes back into the market. But the bonds those people sold are already bought by somebody else. So now today, this morning, when we came to market for another one of our school district clients, we were the only California bond being sold in the market. And that's why we had 5 bidders in 2 different bond sales, because if you want to buy a California bond, we were the show. And why would you want to buy a California bond? Because if you live in California and you buy a municipal bond sold by a California public agency, it is almost always, and our bonds will be, double tax-free. Tax-free from federal income tax, tax-free from state income tax. So we had that demand, and so our market is very good right now. Now, where will it be on the end of June? We will keep you posted. But one of the things that we can see is the Federal Reserve is doing everything it can to steady the financial markets.
Right.
And the stock market and the bond market, people used to think that they were the opposite sides of the coin, debt and equity. But that has really changed with computers and things like derivatives. And now you really can just think about why would people be putting money into bonds? Why would they be taking it out? And we have seen that in the last few weeks. So I hope I answered your question about supply and demand of bonds in the market.
Yeah, very interesting.
Any other board member comments? All right, this is for information only. It's great to see you. Thanks for staying up and doing the long day. And that is the end of our meeting. I thank you all. Delia, if you have any thing that you need to straighten out with me, give me a call. Thanks, you guys. Have a good night.